confirmation of quorum.
Yes, Chair Roybal. I'm calling the roll. Chair Roybal.
Here.
Commissioner Anna Hansen.
Present. Thank you. Welcome, Catherine.
Hi, Anna. Commissioner Anna Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Rudy Garcia.
Here, thank you.
Commissioner Hank Hughes.
Here, thanks.
All present, and we have quorum.
Thank you, Clerk Clark. So next on our agenda, we have item number 1C and 1D, and also 1E is a moment of reflection. So 1C is a Pledge of Allegiance. 1D is the state pledge. I'll lead both of those two pledges, and then we'll go on to the moment of reflection. And from the Sheriff's Office, we have Jessica Rodarte. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Okay, thank you. So we're going to go on to our moment of reflection. From the Sheriff's Office, we have Jessica Rodarte.
Heavenly Father, bless our government leaders as they come together in Santa Fe and across our nation. May they lead through humility and love, leading us to peace and unity. Keep our leaders grounded in what is good and true. We place the work being done here today and ourselves in your hands. Bring creativity, ideas, cooperation, and positive energy to us today. Bless and protect the employees who serve our communities in all capacities, as well as their families. May our leaders lead by faith, ever working for the good of the people they serve. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Did we have any other announcements or anything else under moments of reflection? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go on to our next agenda item. And this is item number 1F.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I
yes.
had my hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I was waiting for you to call on me.
Okay, Commissioner Hansen, sorry about that. Go ahead.
So I want to take a moment of silence for George Acona. He was a photographer and an author of over 100 books, and he was a resident of District 2. He passed away at the end of last year. His wife is Helen Acona, who I think, Helga Acona, who I think many of you probably have heard on KSFR. She has a great jazz program on Friday mornings. But George passed away, and it is a big loss to our community. He was a strong community activist and cared deeply about the South Side of Santa Fe and that area of the county that I represent. And so I would like to take a moment of silence for him.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hansen, and thank you for recognizing Mr. Acona and his accomplishments. Okay, so we're going to move on to item number F, and this is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Commissioner Hansen, did you have changes? Okay,
Mr. Chair,
Manager Miller? Yes, Commissioner Hamilton?
one thing is, could I request the proclamation, it's item 6C, for our past firefighter Isaac Garcia, be moved to any place that's convenient at the beginning of the meeting?
Okay, so how about if we move it right after the consent agenda?
That would be fabulous. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, this is Greg Schaefer, the county attorney speaking. Manager Miller asked me to go over the limited changes to the agenda if you would entertain my doing so. She has a conflicting meeting.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So the initial agenda for the meeting was posted last Tuesday, January 5th. An amended agenda was posted on Friday, January 8th. And the limited substantive changes were as follows. Item 5G was added to the agenda. This is a letter of appreciation to our congressional delegation concerning enactment of amendments to the AMET Litigation Settlement Act to conform the act to the 611G agreement. In addition, item 7A1, potential intervention and public regulation commission case number 19-00234-UT was added to the agenda under matters from the county attorney executive session. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for those updates, Attorney Schaefer. Okay, so we do have some amendments to the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve with those amendments?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
So we have a motion from Commissioner
Second.
Hughes and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hanson?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
And a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So this item passes unanimously. We have an approved agenda. We're going to go on to item number 1G. And this is the approval of the December 15th, 2020 Board of County Commissioners regular meeting minutes. Do we have any changes? Commissioner Hanson?
Yes, I would like to move to approve with changes.
Okay, and so the changes have been sent to the stenographer, is that correct?
No, I usually, the process is that I talk to her after the meeting,
Okay.
and I will most likely speak with her tomorrow.
Okay, and so we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
And a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So this item also passes unanimously. So we have an approval of our meeting minutes for December 15th, 2020. Next, we're going to move on to item number 2, and this is the consent agenda. Are there any commissioners that have need further explanation on any of these items?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hughes, go ahead, sir.
Yes, I just wanted to know for my own information, everybody else may know this, what the $233,000 in the DWI grant is actually paying for. I saw it's consulting services, and I just don't know enough about that program, but I was wondering what service that's going to be.
Okay, Commissioner, did you want to pull this item, or do you want to just get a quick answer on that?
Oh, a quick answer is fine.
Okay. So do we have somebody from staff that can answer Commissioner Hughes' question, please?
Yes, good afternoon, Chairman Roybal, Commissioner Hughes, and other commissioners. My name is Chanel Delgado. I'm the program manager for the DWI program. And the majority of this funding will be allocated to expand existing prevention program services for youth and adults here in Santa Fe County.
So do we have a consultant who provides that service? Is that how that works?
We have various contractors that will be providing the services throughout the community.
Okay, well, at some point, I think I should get together with you and learn all about that without taking up too much more time here. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to send you the allocations and where they're delegated.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Delgado. Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Are there any other questions? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
I move for approval of the consent agenda.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Hughes. Do I hear a second?
Second?
And a second from Commissioner Hamilton. I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Garcia,
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
and a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So we have items number 2A and 2B on the consent agenda that have been approved unanimously. Madam Clerk, can we get resolution numbers? Madam Clerk, you might be muted.
I need to press harder. Okay, so for the consent agenda, the resolution requesting an increase to the alcohol program fund is resolution 2021-1. And the resolution confirming and ratifying the county manager's authority is 2021-2.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, so we're going to move on to item number 3. And these are actually 6C. Sorry. So we're going to go to item number 6C, and this is a proclamation proclaiming January 12th, 2021, Isaac Garcia Day, and naming the Agua Fria Fire District Training Tower the Isaac Garcia Training Tower. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hamilton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It really means a lot to me to join my fellow firefighters and Commissioner Hanson to honor Isaac Garcia. He was one of our best and most beloved emergency responders and member of the Glorieta community. So we consider Isaac one of our own up here in Glorieta. But of course, the training tower that will be named for him is in Commissioner Hanson's district, and she's been very gracious in working with us on this. I'm grateful to have met and had the opportunity to work with Isaac. In addition to all his accomplishments, which I'm going to let other people who he was very dear to speak to, he was just the nicest, most delightful person to work with. I'm frankly really proud to serve in the same volunteer department, Glorieta Pass, where Isaac started. There are many firefighters and EMTs still at Glorieta Pass who knew Isaac and worked with him and loved him. And some of them even responded on the sad day to his emergency on the sad day that he passed. They are all tuned in right now to hear this tribute and to indirectly express their respect and their fond memories. And in fact, our Assistant Chief, Jane McSweeney, emailed me a paragraph. She knew Isaac for quite a while. It's very, very brief, but I'd like to read it. The members of Glorieta Pass Fire and Rescue are proud that one of our deceased members, Isaac Garcia, is being honored today. By naming the Agua Fria Fire Training Tower after Isaac, he was always training and willing to learn more no matter the location. At Pecos Ambulance, Glorieta Fire Station, the County Fire Station, and the Community College, he took so many classes. He would even teach us when he could. One time, and this is Assistant Chief McSweeney, was in the pool doing laps with him. I asked, how do you hold your breath for so long? He showed me, but I still could not stay under as long as he could. He must have been part fish. He did teach me how to swim faster. He touched so many lives in his short time with us. May every firefighter that enters those tower walls be blessed and protected by God. We miss Isaac, his big smile and gentle heart. We will ask God to bless his family. proud to call him a friend, one of our fire department sons. So I also want to mention that the two commissioners are bringing this forward, but this was initiated by his firefighter colleagues at Santa Fe County. And so I really want to thank firefighter EMT Garrett Allen and Assistant Chief Jacob Black for going to the effort to do this. It's incredibly meaningful, obviously, to all of us. And before I also want to thank our recently retired Chief Eric Litzenberg and our acting chief in the interim, Bobby Montoya, and our current chief, Jackie Lindsay, who's, I hope this is a really wonderful introduction to how proud we are of our fire department and our mixed service. And I guess with that, just turn it over first to Assistant Chief Black, to whatever he cares to do to speak to the proclamation and or read it if you care to, or however you would like to handle this. Thank you so much, Chief Black.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hamilton, thank you. Thank you, commissioners, for taking the time to recognize and honor Isaac Garcia. Isaac was truly an incredible human being. He was a fixture not only for our fire department, but in the community as well. He moved from being a volunteer member of our team to a career member at a critical time in the department's history. He participated in one of the first EMT street ready classes in the state of New Mexico, which was a huge accomplishment for fire and EMS across the state. Firefighter Garcia set a high bar for himself and others. He dedicated himself to learning and improving. It's fitting to name the training tower after him, as he loved to train, and he passed prior to us building and constructing this facility. And if he was still here today, I'm sure that it would be nearly impossible to get him off of that training tower. We will be placing a plaque on the building to permanently recognize and just honor him. And also thank you for declaring today as Isaac Garcia Day. It's very fitting, as you see on the screen right now, his man number was 112. So it's fitting that today, being January 12th, is his day, because that was his badge number. Declaring today as Isaac Garcia Day will allow the citizens of Santa Fe County to remember one of our most influential and positive firefighters in our county's history. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, for all of your hard work. If Firefighter Garrett Allen is on, I would like to open the floor to him, as he has some things to share regarding Isaac.
If Mr. Allen is on the phone, he has to hit *6, I believe.
I don't know, Tessa Jo, can you tell whether Mr. Allen is on?
Unless he's calling in, unless he's a call-in user, it doesn't appear that he's signed on yet.
I understand. Chief Black, do you have anybody else who would like to take a moment at this time?
I do not, Commissioner Hamilton, I do not. However, I do have the proclamation, which if you would like for me to read, I can go ahead and read that.
That would be appreciated.
The proclamation reads, Santa Fe County Proclamation proclaiming January 12th, 2021 Isaac Garcia Day and naming the Agua Fria Fire District Training Tower the Isaac Garcia Training Tower. Whereas Isaac Garcia was born on November 15th, 1986, and he grew up in Glorieta, New Mexico with his beloved family, mother, Stephanie Garcia of Glorieta, father, Harry Garcia of Tokyo, and his siblings, Jesse, Gina, Raya, and Juliet of Santa Fe, and Elena of Tokyo. Isaac joined the Glorieta Pass Volunteer Fire District as a volunteer cadet at the age of 16 and was so dedicated to his goals that his mother often had to drive him to meetings because he was too young to drive himself. And he was among the youngest members of Atalaya Search and Rescue with aspirations of becoming a pararescueman, PJ, Special Forces member, and more. And he played trumpet and marimba in various local bands at his young age and received the Team Treasurers Award. And he also achieved an associate's degree in leadership and outdoor education from Santa Fe Community College, certification in the National Outdoor Leadership School, course of medical professionals, the Boss Survival course, and a lifeguard certification. Isaac secured his spot as a career firefighter with the Santa Fe County Fire Department in 2007, adopting C-112 as his crew number. And he became an EMT intermediate firefighter later in his career. In his off time, he was an avid outdoorsman, skier, backpacker, ice climber, mountain climber, swimmer, mountain biker, and triathlete. Isaac lived to give back to others and was one of those people who lit up the room when he was in it. And he had an obvious impact on all of our Santa Fe County Fire Department career and volunteer members and those who knew him. Isaac passed away on March 16th, 2012 at his home of an aortic dissection. When he exhibited symptoms of an aortic dissection, members of County Med 80 and Glorieta Pass responded to one of their own. But despite heroic life-saving efforts, Isaac passed away. Once he had passed, and before his service as tradition, members pulled shifts to ensure his body was never left alone. His passing left a significant impact on all those who worked beside him. But to this day, their spirits can be lifted by the mention of his name. In honor of Isaac's dedication and acknowledgement and the importance of proper training, Santa Fe County Fire Department would like to unite their mission and Isaac's memory by designating the Agua Fria Fire District Training Tower in his name. Every new cadet, as well as many of our current leaders, have had their start at Agua Fria Fire District. Having Isaac's name on the Agua Fria Fire District's training tower will allow first responders to reflect on what being a first responder means to them and to the people they serve and love. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners in Santa Fe County that the Fire Training Tower at Agua Fria Fire District, where traditions have been born throughout the years, be named Isaac Garcia Training Tower and forever be Isaac's home. Be it further proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Santa Fe County that we proclaim January 12th, 2021 as Isaac Garcia Day. Mr. Chair, Mr. and Mrs. Commissioners, thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chair, if I could, Commissioner Hanson, I really am grateful that you co-sponsored this. That training tower is in your district and it will be very meaningful to the entire fire department. Please.
Absolutely. Commissioner Hanson?
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton and Chair Roybal. I can see from the pictures that Isaac was very well loved by his friends and co-workers, and I am grateful to his service and his dedication to Santa Fe County. And I think that it is completely appropriate that this training facility be named after him. It is an important part of our community, and I know that as we move forward, that our training facility and a fire station there will grow and expand. And so having that, having his name on there will keep his energy, his passions, and his love for the community alive. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hansen. And thank you both for bringing this forward, and the firefighters that helped in bringing this forward. It's, I'm honored to be here today to be able to recognize our Isaac and his accomplishments. It appears that by his birthday that he was probably in his early 30s, way too young, but
He was 25.
or was 25, and so just the accomplishments that he did in his young life should be an inspiration to us all. So thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I see Garrett Allen is on, and I would love to give him a minute because he really, and along with Assistant Chief Black, was the person to bring this forward, and it just means so much to us. So if you don't mind.
Absolutely, Mr. Allen, you're up.
Hello. Are you able to hear me, Commissioner Roybal? Everybody?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I do want to first off begin by saying thank you from the bottom of my heart. This, as you all understand, means a great deal, not just to me, but to every individual who ever met Isaac. He was, well, like they've said before, he broke the mold. I know as a fact that he would be moved beyond words to know that so many years after his passing, people still felt strongly enough about his life and all that he brought to those who had the chance to meet him, that we still care so much about him to honor him in this way. And I'm deeply grateful to everybody on the Board of Commissioners to take this step and honor not just Isaac, but his family. I apologize for joining in this meeting a little bit late. I had a couple technical glitches, so I was getting those ironed out. So I apologize if I'm speaking on things that have already been addressed. But to dovetail Isaac's name with the Santa Fe County Fire Department's training tower is really an ideal combination, because as you know from hearing this measure addressed, putting your best foot forward meant so much to Isaac, which was kind of funny because if you ever saw him march, it was hard to tell which his best foot was. But he always endeavored to help people. He knew that he had second chance after second chance in his own personal life, and he felt like that was not without purpose. He knew that he was here to give back to people, and that's what he endeavored to do. And with the fire department, it's pretty difficult to give back without training, because we need to know what we're doing when we're out there answering the call. So to be able to combine the memory of Isaac with our greater goal of training to be ready for the community when people call on us to help them is such a wonderful way to honor Isaac. And I'm just very proud and thrilled to see all of this coming about. It took a lot of effort and initiative on people's free time, and none of that is lost on us. We're very grateful. There are many ways that Isaac's name is living on. My youngest son is named after Isaac, and we have another member in our fire department who likewise, his youngest son is named after Isaac as well. So just this training tower is one more way to carry that on. And without rambling any longer and taking up anybody's time, I know there are a lot of meetings on the agenda, or topics on the agenda, so I'll step out and just say thanks. I'm deeply, deeply grateful.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chair, just one more thing I wanted to add. Apparently, in the amazement, very amazing thing, the county has been getting phone calls all morning, not just from people around the county and the state, but from around the country to get the link to be able to call in and watch this. I assume after just a few firefighters and family members posted this. And so I just think that's a real testament to how important this is to everybody. And I take it as a reflection of my level of gratitude that you all in the fire department brought this forward. And from, my request for my fellow commissioners to pass this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. And, enough can't be said. Being here today and just honoring one of our neighborhood heroes, and I think that, all of our firefighters and police personnel that, protect our communities are exactly that. So we really appreciate that. And I wish that, that we still had Isaac. So, but I'm glad that we're able to honor him in this way. So thank you. Okay, so with that, was that a motion from you, Commissioner Hamilton?
I'm happy. Yes, I would love to make the motion. I do see that Commissioner Garcia and then Commissioner Hughes wanted to say something, but if now is the right time, I would like to move to pass, to approve this proclamation.
So I'm going to go ahead and do a motion, and we have a second. And under,
I'd like to second the motion.
Okay, so since Commissioner Hansen was the co-sponsor, I'm going to have, if that's okay with you, Commissioner Garcia, to have Commissioner Hansen to second that. Or I guess we're okay with multiple seconds. At any rate, I do want to go under discussion. And so I think everybody wants to make the motion and second. But, I do want to go under discussion and go to Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Hamilton, thank you for bringing this forward. Great thing. Mr. Allen, thank you for the kind words that you did for Mr. Isaac Garcia. I think this is actually very important, and this is great. It's kind of sad that he's not here, as Commissioner Roybal said anymore. To get some kind words like that from McSweeney. McSweeney was in 1993, 1995, he was involved in the fire department of Santa Fe County for many, many years. And to get some good accolades from McSweeney, great job, Isaac. And to his family, thank you for lending him to Santa Fe County and to the residents of the county. And I appreciate that. And this is a great proclamation. I appreciate that, Commissioner Hamilton. Thank you, Mr. Isaac Garcia. Great last name, as well as thank you for his family. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Hughes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know what I could possibly add to what's been said. I think this is a wonderful proclamation. I know that I met Isaac a few times during his life, but I didn't know him well. But I think it's a great tribute to him and to the Garcia family that his name can live on as an inspiration to other people. And as I think you said, Mr. Chair, to have accomplished so much in a short life is really amazing. And so I'm very happy to support this proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Are there any other comments from any other commissioners? I do want to go ahead and ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to say something as well. Tessa, if you can unmute everybody, and I'll just listen to see if there's anybody that would like to speak. Is there anybody that would like to speak to this proclamation today? Okay. Hearing none, we do have a motion and a second. So I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes, and thank you.
Commissioner Hansen?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
And a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So this proclamation passes unanimously. Thank you. And we really appreciate you guys bringing this forward. What a great memorial for Isaac. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to item number 3, and this is miscellaneous action items. Our first item is a resolution requesting budget adjustments in the amount of $653,136 in various funds to account for prior year transactions affecting capital outlay amounts, included in the fiscal year 2021 budget. And from the Finance Division, we have our Director, Ms. Siwan Herrera.
Good morning, Chair Roybal, Commissioners. I'm here before you to request the budget adjustment to correct the list of funds within the request as a result of actually a bunch of reasons. This is actually going to be the final adjustment to correct the budget as well as the encumbrances related to transactions that we needed to pull back into fiscal year 20 that had occurred in fiscal year 21. At the end of fiscal year 20, capital outlay purchase orders were rolled forward into fiscal year 21. The county operates on a modified accrual basis, which means expenses are booked in the fiscal year in which the activity occurs. During the months of August and September, the accounts payable section identifies expenditures related to activity that took place in fiscal year 20, but were not paid until fiscal year 21. To accurately account for the expenditures on the modified accrual basis of accounting for the purposes of the financial statements, the expenditures are recorded back into fiscal year 20. The Finance Division carries forward all capital outlay purchase orders with outstanding balances into the next fiscal year before the year-end accrual process is complete. As a result of the accrual process, the purchase orders that we carried forward now into fiscal year 21 are inflated by the amounts that we recognized as fiscal year 20 expenditures. As a result, we have to liquidate those specific amounts on the purchase orders because during the accrual process, we are unable to actually liquidate the PO before we actually roll it forward. Through the liquidation process, the budget becomes available for the originating department to utilize in fiscal year 21, which is incorrect. The freed up budget in fiscal year 21 must be reduced to avoid the county over budgeting and overspending in the affected capital projects. Now, I want to make sure to clarify that the original budget for any of these specific projects was not reduced overall. It was just correcting the amount, the available budget based upon what had actually transacted. And with that, Chair Roybal, Commissioners, I stand for any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Director Herrera. Do we have any questions for Director Herrera? Board, Commissioner Garcia?
Mr. Chair, thank you, Mrs. Herrera. So the expiration dates on these grants or these capital outlay projects, do we have 1 year, 2 years, or 4 years? And what is the plan for the Public Works Department to get these executed?
Chair Roybal, Commissioner Garcia, in this specific budget adjustment, these are all ongoing projects for outstanding purchase orders for various projects throughout the county. So they're different terms. What we're doing here specifically is just correcting the budget that's available. So I don't have any specifics immediately as to the different deadlines or the appropriation period ending for any of the projects, but all of these POs are still ongoing. I'm sorry, the projects are still ongoing for these adjustments on these that are related to these adjustments. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Yvonne. We'll get together soon. Appreciate it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. I'm going to go to Manager Miller.
Mr. Chair, I would recommend when we get to reports, we perhaps can have Gary or some of the Public Works staff go over the Public Works report a little bit. If you look in the back of the packet, we have all the projects that are ongoing. There's a list of the projects. It gives, what the project is, who the project manager is, how much budget is budgeted for it, and the current status of it. And that might be a good opportunity for Gary and his staff to address Commissioner Garcia's question.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Are there any other questions from commissioners? Comments? Okay, I don't see any hands up. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, this is Rudy. I'll move for approval.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Garcia
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. I'll go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hanson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia,
Yes.
and Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
and a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So this item passes unanimously. Okay, thank you, Ms. Herrera. So can we get a resolution number for that item we just passed?
Yes, Chair Roybal, it is Resolution 2021-03.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, so we're going to go on to item number 3B. And this is the resolution requesting a budget increase to the State Special Appropriation Fund 318 in the amount of $415,000 to budget 2 grants received from the state of New Mexico. And from the Finance Division, we have our director once again, Ms. Yvonne Herrera.
Thank you, Chair Roybal, Commissioners. I'm here before you to request a budget adjustment to budget the 2 grants that we received during the 2020 legislative session. Grant number 20-E2730 was appropriated to plan, design, construct, and replace the roof at the Esperanza shelter in the amount of $90,000. The grant was fully executed on November 29th, 2020. This is new funding that did not previously exist, and the item is not on the county's ICIP list. The appropriation period for the grant expires on June 30th, 2024. And the second grant, number 20-E2723, was appropriated to plan, design, construct, purchase, equip, and install photovoltaic units and electric vehicle charging stations for public safety and community facilities within the county in the amount of $325,000. The grant was fully executed as well on November 29, 2020. This is new funding which didn't exist. The item is on the ICIP list for the county as project ID 35167 2020-001. The total project cost is estimated to be $2.5 million. The county has already received funding for this project under grant number 19-D3196 in the amount of $505,000. The county intends to continue requesting $500,000 from the state through 2024 to fund the project. And the appropriation period for this specific grant expires on June 30th, 2024. And with that, Chair Roybal, Commissioners, I stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions from the board? I'm looking for a show of hands. Commissioner Hanson?
Thank you, Yvonne, for bringing this forward. I want to thank the New Mexico legislature, and I want to thank the county for accepting these grants, especially the grant for the Esperanza domestic violence shelter, which is in my district. And this is something that is very needed. I'm hoping that at some point we can also put solar energy on their building. But at the moment, getting them a new roof is a very good beginning. And so I am grateful to the legislature for appropriating this. I'm also extraordinarily grateful to the legislature for the photovoltaic electric charging stations, which I think is incredibly imperative to happen as soon as possible. We want to encourage people to be buying electric cars, but without charging stations and without connections, it is not really possible for people to feel secure in buying an electric vehicle. So this is just one more step in the green transition and the green movement to help restore our planet and reduce global warming and reduce the impacts to our drying world. So I want to also, again, thank the legislators for recognizing this important project in Santa Fe County. And with that, I move to approve.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hanson. We have a motion for
Second.
approval and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. Under discussion, is there anything else from commissioners under discussion? Commissioner Garcia?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Really quick, I would like to know what the $325,000 from this grant. What's the plan from Public Works to get it moving forward? And I know Gary will address that in a while. And also, where are we at with the $505,000 that we received? How we spent that money, and what's the plan for that stuff? And I know Gary will talk to us about that a little bit later. But with that, I vote for approval as well, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. So we do have a motion and a second and a reiterated motion of approval from Commissioner Garcia. I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hughes, did you have a question, sir?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, perfect. I thought I saw your hand go up. Okay. So I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Approval.
Commissioner Hanson?
Yes, grateful to the legislature of New Mexico.
Okay. Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
And a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So this item passes unanimously, and it was a great item. So I appreciate all the input from the commissioners. So that was item number 3B. Clerk Clark, can we get a resolution number?
Yes, Chair Roybal, that was resolution 2021-004.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we're going to go on to item number 4, and this is matters of public concern. I'm going to go and see first. I want to see how many people that we have from the public that would like to address the commission. Tessa, can we unmute just for a moment?
Sure. Mr. Chair, so far we have 3 people who have signed up, and I will unmute now.
Okay, is there anybody else from the public that would, okay, if you could state your name?
My name is Beverly Duran Cash.
Beverly Duran Cash. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to address the commission?
Yes, Dave Neal.
And Dave Neal. Anybody else from the public?
Commissioner, Chairman Roybal, I've given my name, so hopefully that's already included. This is Carl Trujillo.
Yes, I believe so.
You have the name Kenny Kelfin?
We do not yet.
So my name is Kenny Kelfin, K-A-L, F as in Frank, I-N.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kelfin. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to address the commission? Okay. So we do have, how many is that, Tessa Jo? Is that 5 or 6?
We have 6.
6. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and allot 5 minutes for the conversation. Typically we do less than that, but 6 is still going to be a little over 20 minutes. But I'll go ahead and allot 5 minutes. And so if we could, if we cannot be repetitive, if a lot of the comments are repetitive, I'm not sure if they're on the same issues or different issues, but if they are on the same issue, if we can try not to be repetitive, just so that we can save time, as long as somebody's already brought forward that concern. If we can do that, I'd appreciate it. So we're going to go ahead and start with our first speaker. If you can call on our first one, Tessa Jo.
Our first speaker is Representative Carl Trujillo.
Thank you, Tessa, and Chairman Roybal and Commissioners, thanking you for giving me this opportunity to speak. Today I'll be speaking on the road settlement agreements that Santa Fe County has sent out the maps on. I'll give a little bit of history back here. Is the road settlement talks between Santa Fe County, the federal government, and the 4 pueblos of Nambe, Poaque, San Ildefonso, and Tesuque took place between the mid-2017 and into early 2018. Around this same time, Santa Fe County had a few public meetings in the Poaque Valley. Some of these main talking points Santa Fe County conveyed to the property owners at this meeting were as follows. Number 1, Santa Fe County would work to minimize the amount of gap issues for the Santa Fe County private property residents. I was at all of these meetings, as were many residents here as well. Number 2, Santa Fe County would enjoy 198 years of row agreements Santa Fe County would enjoy 198 years of row with the agreements, and that the county residents without a gap would enjoy 198 years as well. County residents that did have a gap would be able to have row assignments for these gap areas for 35 years from the specific pueblos and be reassigned to them for the time limit of up to 198 years. The same period of Santa Fe County had negotiated for their roads. 35-year gap row agreements between the private property owner and the pueblos would allow for homeowners to acquire title insurance with ingress and egress guarantees, since most mortgages are of a 30-year period. And number 3, county property owners would be assigned one access point to a property unless it served 2 or more households, which then would be called a common access point. So most people walked away from these meetings believing they would have 198 years, whether they had to negotiate with the pueblos and pay the rows or not. Santa Fe County hires a survey to identify all county maintained roads after this and geographically document these roads, which also define the access point to each private property or common access point if used by 2 or more households, as well as the gaps where they exist. Many attempts from Santa Fe County residents were made to acquire the ongoing survey maps from Santa Fe County during the last 2 years, including myself, only to be told that we would not have access to them until they were complete. Finally, this just of December of this last year, 2020, which we're all glad to see gone, but December 1, 2020, just a little over a month ago, Santa Fe County sends out a letter to their residents that says, the county and the pueblo, quote, the county and the pueblo are finalizing the survey and the right-of-way applications necessary to implement the settlement agreement. We are writing so that you have the opportunity to review the survey map before row applications are submitted to the Department of Interior and provide you with information about what you can do if a gap exists between the county maintained road and your property. And so I've emailed Mr. Schaefer and attached and copied Ms. Miller and Commissioner Roybal and Mr. Hidon on several emails. And one of the questions that I had was, for those people that do have a gap, if I go to the Nambe Pueblo Road Agreement here, it says B, for any gaps, if any, and this is quoting, for any gaps, if any, that extend beyond the 25 feet on either side of the center line of CMR, so now you'd have a gap. The Pueblo will provide a process for private residents to obtain a row pursuant to 25 CFR Part 169. The Pueblo agrees that such gap rows shall be for a term up to 35 years for a nominal fee. So my question has been, it doesn't state that anything after the 35 years is guaranteed to these people after they've negotiated this gap and paid for this gap pricing with the Pueblos. And this is a huge concern because I think everybody walked away from these meetings that if you did have a gap, you would have the opportunity. I'm not saying that the Pueblos won't grant that, but in these agreements, it doesn't state that this would actually be the process for these people. And so I've not got a response back from the county on this, and I'd really like to have a response on that. I've emailed the county since December 8th on numerous of my own personal issues with 2 different gap issues. One of them is where I'm trying to move my access point. I got a 1 to 3 foot gap, but if you the road that parallels this property line, if you move up 20 feet, I no longer have a gap. And as I've asked the county to move my access point, or what is the process for me to move this access point so I would not have a gap. And I've not gotten an answer to that question as well. And so I may reach out to each one of you later to explain some of my situation. I think many people here in the community have this same issue, and I'd like to see if these are addressed before these go to the Department of Interior here in the near future. And I've requested a date of when you anticipate you'll be sending these. I did get an email from Mr. Schaefer finally yesterday. It said they will not be sending these applications within the next week or 2, but I was hoping to get a little more clarity as far as when the county would be submitting these to the Department of Interior. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, really quick.
Thank you, Representative Trujillo. Commissioner Garcia.
I know we're not supposed to have dialogue from public concern, but Representative Trujillo, Chairman Trujillo, thank you for staying involved in the community and keeping me on track as to what's happening. So I appreciate you and I appreciate hearing you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Can we get our next speaker, Tessa Jo?
Yes, Mr. Chair, our next speaker, please excuse me if I pronounce this name incorrectly, is Masood Zandvahili.
Yes, thank you so much. I think it is really appropriate, at least for the Santa Fe County, to extend the timeline to roles to Department of Interior, especially due to COVID-19. The responsibility should be at least to give a response to the property owners, such as myself, that the Santa Fe County is saying that we have a gap issue. Personally, I believe the center line that was surveyed by the surveyor company is inaccurate, and it favors one property than to the other property. The second thing is, I have emailed Santa Fe County, and I actually Santa Fe County Public Works Department emailed me on December 8th, and they said they contacted the surveyor and he will notify me of the response about my question. It has been over a month, and I have not received any response from the Santa Fe Public Works Department whether the surveyor answered the question about the center line being adjusted. The other issue is, if the settlement agreement was signed and finalized in early 2018, why would most of the private property owners were notified on December 1st, 2020? I receive the property tax assessment every April, and I received the property tax bill every November. So even if I go to 2018, when the settlement agreement was approved, the Santa Fe County had 6 opportunities to notify me about the settlement agreement, and they failed to do so. It seems to me that when the property owners have to pay the taxes, we get a notice in the mail, we get a notice to pay it. However, when there's a big issue such as this, that it will affect our properties, they do not notify us. So what I'm asking for is the extended time and a clear timeline when the roads are going to be due to Department of Interior. And furthermore, when are we going to get a clear answer from the Santa Fe County about the questions that they said we can't discuss with them? And they said they would get answers for us from the surveyor company, and we haven't received. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Tessa, can we get our next speaker?
Yes, Mr. Chair, our next speaker is Jacob Mendez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the time. I have a similar gap issue, my property here in Mambay. And the concern that I have is the inaccuracy, the apparent inaccuracy to me of the road center line. And as Carl mentioned earlier, the road center line is the basis for measuring 25 feet on either side to define where a gap exists. In my particular situation, the center line, according to the survey, is excessively biased to one side of the road, and it inherently creates a gap that I believe should not be there. If you look at, and we have pictures of this, I've sent some questions to the Santa Fe County Commissioners and also to the county Public Works Department, kind of laying out this and asking some questions why the center line is so biased far off of the actual road that's in use. And I haven't received a response on that. I don't think it is a good basis to use a center line survey that is so far off of reality, because it goes against what I interpret the county's agreement with the Department of Interior and the Pueblos is to minimize the number of gaps, whereas using a center line that is so far off of the center line of the road, it's actually doing the exact opposite. It's creating a gap where there shouldn't be one. So I think there should be some time for evaluation of these issues, and at least some opportunity for the public to present their specific issues and get some answers from the county as to what recourse we have. I think that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Jacob. Tessa, can we get our next speaker, please?
Mr. Chair, our next speaker is Beverly Duran Cash.
Thank you, Commissioner Roybal. I appreciate the time. So I'm calling in on multiple personal situations that have happened recently. My husband, he sold a home in Santa Fe County, and the survey, Madrano or Precision Survey, he showed a gap in the entrance to that property. It was an error. When we showed all our proof, because the county told us we had to show him because he is the surveyor both for the tribes and for Santa Fe County, we showed him our proof, and instead of him working with us and saying, let's sit down and look at this, he basically said, that's the survey, it is what it is, and I'm not going to change it. So my husband and I had to hire a lawyer and go to the Department of Transportation and actually force him to look at the document in which he actually agreed that he made an error. But at that point, when we were selling our home, we asked him that he needed to correct that survey, and his email to us is, I will get to it when I get to it. Fortunately, our lawyer sent a letter and had him send a letter to the title company stating that he had made this error. Now that's with myself being very involved in the community. If it was anybody else, what would they have done? Because I have found when we have a dispute, the county will try to help if it's something that they feel they should help with. If they're not readily, able to go and say, hey, well, let's work with Madrano. In this situation, it was on the highway. So like I said, we had to go to the Department of Transportation. Second situation, I'm refinancing my home. Madrano, he puts on my survey that I don't allow surveyors on there because he had one point that he had full access to through Pueblo lands, and I denied him to go on my property because he had told the BIA that I had personally or my family had threatened him, and I felt it was a liability. But the BIA agreed that he could go around to tribal land and check that point. Well, he put on my survey that I did not allow the surveys on there, and the title company rejected my request. Now, the county, I know that Mr. Schaefer, he called for me and he spoke to him, and I asked what was the problem, because in San Alfonso there's no gap. So even if they were worried about a gap on my road, there was not a gap. So why was the title company refusing me and telling me because my property wasn't surveyed, which was not true? I still haven't got an answer, but I know Mr. Schaefer was going to work on that, and you, Chairman Rabal, we're going to actually talk to the title company on what the issue is. Third, my son has family property where his grandmother owned on both sides of the road in Cayumungue, in Poaque Pueblo. They, meaning the county, used that to make a county road, but also had a small section where it was a roundabout, and they used to park their trucks and their work trucks and put materials there. Well, now it's shown as a gap. So that was definitely family land. And so what is the process of taking that land back if we allowed Santa Fe County to use it as a roundabout, but they decided that they were not going to use it? So those are my three personal questions, and I like to end with this. We not only need time, we need a process. We need a process where people have a dispute. This was something that was promised to us, that we would go to the county and the county would support us against the survey who was working for both sides, and we would be able to get to a resolution. That has not taken place. And I, for one, feel like Santa Fe County is supposed to represent us, the taxpayers, not celebrate in community meetings at Buffalo Thunder, all the commissioners celebrating, exchanging fruit baskets because they've made an agreement and an accomplishment. Because you commissioners, respectively, that have seen it as an accomplishment are not living with it. So at this point, I ask the board to step up to the plate and do as you promised these property tax owners and payers. Please give us a process and work with us and represent us so that when there is a very visual discrepancy, we have that support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Duran Cash. Can we get our next speaker, Tessa?
Yes, Mr. Chair, our next speaker is Dave Neal.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
In 1934, there was a court decree that was issued that specifically stated that in the Nambe Pueblo, the defendants, being the people who are non-Pueblo members, shall be permanently entitled to the use of the roads upon said grant. The whole issue about these settlement agreements bothers me a little bit because of that decree. It apparently looks like the county has decided to ignore it. Now, having said that, I'm going to move on to Sanai. Back in early December, I sent a request for some drawings, right-of-way drawings from the county. Now, I noticed that the right-of-way drawings from the county are on the website for Nambe and Poaque, but not for Sanai. And I find that rather curious because I know for a fact, personally, there are some problems with the survey that was done by Madrano Precision Survey originally, which was a boundary survey, which leads me to the next problem. There is a difference between a boundary survey and a right-of-way survey in the state of New Mexico when it comes to determining what information is considered in determining a right-of-way. If the county is planning to transfer these roads to the BIA, that, my friend, is a right-of-way. I don't believe that the surveys that have been done by Precision Survey, and again, I may be wrong, I don't think they've been done to the standards of New Mexico. Now, the other thing, let me see here. Oh, there was a gentleman earlier on by the name of, I believe it was Diego Gomez, who was trying to meet with the various people within San Ildefonso to talk about the access points and the gaps. And he was sitting down with everybody to do that. I don't think that he was able to complete that process, which is one of the reasons I really believe and support Beverly Duran's mention of having a process by which we can determine if a person's property has actually got a gap or, in fact, it's got an access point. I know for a fact in Nambe, there is a person who will not sign up for allowing the county to transfer his rights to the BIA for property that he owns. And then finally, I have another question I have to ask. It's kind of an interesting one. When the county decides to take away a person's piece of property and use it for the intent of the county, which would then be, in this case, a right-of-way on a piece of personal property and land, isn't that considered taking away a piece of the property that the owner can no longer use because it now belongs to the county? How does a tax assessor adjust the property acreage to indicate that change? It doesn't seem like it's right to allow the county to take away some acreage from a owner, if you will, to be used for county purposes and not allow him to adjust his actual acreage. Now, I am anxious to see the county put up on their website the road surveys that they have for Sanai, because they've got them for Nambe and they got them from Pewaukee, but they do not have it up there for Sanai. And what bothers me a little bit more is I do know that the county through Tierra West has already got construction drawings to build the roads in Sanai. So I think it's only fair to the residents that they have an opportunity to look at the actual county road maps to see if they agree with it. Because I hate to go into construction and then have litigation because the constructor is trespassing on private property. With that, I am done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Tessa, was that our last speaker? Do we have one more?
We have one more, Mr. Kenny Alphin.
Okay. Mr. Alphin?
Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I'm a resident of Pewaukee and have been a taxpaying resident for 28 years. I recently, as everybody else, received a letter with regard to the road settlement agreement at the beginning of December. On it indicated that my point of access was a gap. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. The irony of this gap is that sometime, I believe, between 2005 and 2008, my property was flooded, and I called the Director of Public Works, Mr. James Lujan, who came out to my house, visited with me, and told me that he would recommend that the county move my point of access approximately 150 feet, 200 feet south on my road, which the county installed a culvert in a arroyo that runs along my property line. And that's what's created the gap. My original driveway, I'm not sure because it's not on the survey, would be a gap or not. I do have another point of access that clearly would not be a gap that I could move my driveway to, but I don't know who to speak to about it. And the irony, as I said, is that this gap was created by the county itself by moving my driveway 150, 200 feet further south down my road. Who do I speak to and how do I resolve the issue? Can you hear me?
Yes, you did break up for a minute there, but we can hear you now.
So you did hear that the gap was created by the county moving my point of access and a culvert approximately 150 feet down my road to eliminate a flooding problem that I was having at my house. This was done by the county. I didn't put the culvert in. They moved my existing point of access and the culvert down the driveway, down the arroyo, and created what could be a gap. I'm not sure if it is a gap or not. I have an alternative site that's back towards the old driveway and access point that I could move, but I have no idea what the process is to move my driveway and eliminate the existing gap.
Okay. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Calvin. And if we do have staff that Mr. Calvin has reached out to, I'd like for us to get back to him.
Well, I haven't reached out to staff. We've spoken with the county attorney. My attorney called him and spoke with him. Actually, we called Mr. Giron at Public Works, and he forwarded it to the county attorney, who really had nothing to say other than he agreed that 35 years was a very short period of time for an access point or a right-of-way. That's the other question I have, is whether or not the right-of-way is for 35 years, or is it, as Mr. Trujillo said, would it be for 198 years?
Okay. Those are questions that we don't answer during public comment. But if we could have staff, if you or Tessa, if you can send a message to Mr. Calvin so he can know which appropriate staff, or if we can have staff reach out to him, I'd appreciate that with those answers.
Thank you, Chairman Weber.
Yes, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, I'll ask one more time if there's anybody from the public that would like to address the commission that hasn't spoken yet. Okay, hearing none, we're going to go ahead and close public comments, or matters of public concern, which is item number 4. And we'll go on to item number 5. And this is matters from the county manager. 5A is miscellaneous and COVID-19 updates.
Mr. Chair, before we go on, I think Mr. Schaefer had some comments relative to some of the public concerns that were brought up that would be helpful to the board and to those who are on the meeting. So could he make those comments?
Absolutely.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead,
Mr. Chair.
Attorney Schaefer.
Just Mr. Chair, really quick, I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but I'm okay with Greg talking about it, but that's public comments, so we're opening up a can of worms as into, can we talk about this, not talk about this for public concern, but I'm okay with it for today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Attorney Schaefer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to be clear, I'm not going to talk about any particular property owners, particular issues. Rather, the county manager asked me to generally describe process and public outreach. And so with regard to the public outreach, as various members of the public recognized, the county sent out letters to all property owners within the pueblos of Nambe and Powake, alerting them generally as to where the county was at in the process with regard to right-of-way maps, telling the public how they could obtain copies or access to the maps, which included both posting the maps online, as well as making map sets available at the Powake satellite office, and finally offering to mail relevant sheets to folks, free of charge, so that they could look at their individual properties. In addition, we had county staff virtual office hours that were noted in the letter in December We had hours each day for an entire week at different times of the day in the hopes that we could make county staff available to individuals in times that were convenient to them. We provided a legal notice to let folks know that the maps were available as well. And as we've gone through the process, we have received, questions as well as additional information for staff and our surveyor to consider and research and get back to folks on the questions that they've raised. Obviously, this doesn't mean that our outreach was perfect or that we were always able to respond to individuals in the time frame that they would potentially desire. We do our poor best to get back to folks as quickly as we can with thorough and accurate information while we're also addressing other concerns and issues. So to the extent that Public Works, myself and others involved in the process haven't been able to respond to people as quickly as they would have liked in response to their specific questions and information, we certainly regret that and will endeavor to do even better going forward. With regard to Sanai itself, the only reason that those maps have not yet been made available on the county's website is they're simply at a different stage of development. And once they are at a more finalized point, they will be made available on the county's website, and similar outreach will be undertaken relative to affected community members. So again, I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chair, to explain what public outreach was in fact done and county staff's efforts to both digest and research the information and the requests that have come in, which we will continue to do to the best of our ability. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Schaefer. I do want to ask that I did have staff send me a message saying that they would contact each person with their concerns, but I don't know that we have contact information for all of them. So I'm not sure, Tessa, if you got contact for them. If not, I'll just give you my number. And you guys can call me so that I get your contact information and forward that to staff. So might be easier to do that. So if everybody's ready, I'm going to give you my cell phone number. It's 505-310-7587. Once again, 505-310-7587. And if you could get me your contact information so I can make sure that staff can reach out to you to answer questions. Okay. So we're moving on from matters of public concern, and we're going to go on to matters from the county manager. The first one is 5A, miscellaneous and COVID-19 updates. Manager Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you know, at our last board meeting, we were furiously trying to spend the remaining CARES Act funds. And I am pleased to say that to date, the county has billed the total amount of funding for the small business grants, which was pretty much $3.8 million. So we've billed that all to New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration. We still have to finish the paperwork on some of those grants. We can't actually issue the funds out until we have every piece of documentation required by the state, but we did have applicants and qualified applicants to utilize the entire funding. Also, we've done 8 billings that we've submitted to DFA for the local distribution fund, which was that portion, about $10 million that we received for the Connect program, COVID-related expenses, housing assistance, rental assistance, mortgage assistance, homeless shelter assistance, food assistance, as well as all of the supplies, overtime, and other things that we incurred at the county. So we have submitted billings and drawing down a total of $6.65 million for that. And then the total amount remaining to be billed is about $3.8 million. And we'll be drawing that down as soon as the invoices with all of our vendors are finalized. And then Rachel is going to put together a final report that reflects all of the services provided in Santa Fe County with the CARES Act funds. Also in our seniors program, senior services staff delivered approximately 111,334 meals to seniors since March of last year, when the COVID pandemic shut down our senior centers. This also included partnering with a food depot to deliver approximately an average of 155 food bags weekly to seniors that are in need, and also 40 monthly food commodity boxes to seniors who qualify for the ECHO program. Staff also provided an average of 7 high-risk medical transportations to seniors every week that are in need of dialysis, cancer treatment, wound care, I should say daily, and wound care, while maintaining strict COVID-safe protocols. Our staff and seniors are also going to assist in the vaccination registration for seniors in our community that's needed to be done online. Our Connect program, as we've said throughout the year, took off like gangbusters once COVID hit. We really had to step up staffing and focus in that area. Just to give you a perspective, from April 2019 to February 2020, over 11 months, we had 770 individuals that made requests for assistance through Connect. And since March of 2020, just in those 10 months, we've had 3,855 individuals that have made requests for assistance, which is a 5-fold increase. And we've done that with the same level of staff and actually in some cases less staff because we've had a hiring freeze. So just to give you some perspective of the volume of work that has been coming at us since COVID-19 hit. Needs for housing, food, and income support have been our highest areas of surge. And housing, which is the hardest, is 659 housing or shelter requests were resolved, or 75% of the requests that were made. For food assistance, 951 requests were resolved, or 95%. And for income support, 867 requests were resolved, or 91%. Hope for the Homebound. We started Hope for the Homebound in partnership with the Food Depot and New Mexico Highlands University. Interns for homebound and food insecure individuals, and a total of 1,247 grocery boxes have been delivered. And then also, as you know, we've done some public awareness campaigns. We focused on mask wearing and social distancing, and now we are going to be contracting with 2 companies, PR companies, to create a public awareness campaign on vaccinations, encouraging people to sign up to get vaccinated, information about vaccinations, and also to put a specific emphasis on those high-risk populations, including our seniors and residents within the 87507 zip code. We're doing this program and this particular campaign, public awareness campaign, in coordination with the state and other partners to ensure sensitivity and accuracy about the controversy surrounding vaccinations. So that's our latest update on COVID, and I stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you for that update, Manager Miller. We appreciate it. Do we have questions or concerns from the commission? I'm going to look for a show of hands. Commissioner Hansen?
Thank you. Thank you, Manager Miller, for that report. I wonder where the county is in the schedule of vaccines for our public safety and essential workers, and how we are moving forward with that.
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hansen, we had our Tier 1A employees, which are those staff in what we'll call kind of frontline medical interaction with individuals who may be COVID positive, EMTs in the fire department, our volunteer EMT individuals, our healthcare workers, medical workers in the correctional facility. All of those were in Tier 1 and have been to, I think when I talked to Martin last night, anyone who was in that list had been offered the opportunity to receive a vaccination. We did not make the vaccinations mandatory, so it is optional. One group of employees that we're focusing on now, that it's been debatable whether they are Tier 1 or Tier 1A or Tier 1B, were our detention officers. We are moving them into the same tier with the sheriff's deputies, who are now eligible to receive, and I believe are being scheduled to receive vaccines if they choose to do so. And our detention officers will be in that group and putting their names forward. Then we go to what they call Tier 1C, which would be other essential workers in the county. And we're working through Martin with that list of employees that have high contact with the public. This would be likely employees who are in senior services, community services, any of those public safety employees that did not get picked up in the first two tiers of 1A or 1B, and continuing to follow the state, the CDC and state guidelines for the categories of individual employees that fall into the different categories, and providing those employees an opportunity to sign up for vaccination. Additionally, we've sent out all the information to all county employees about the Department of Health registration, and are encouraging our employees to sign up there. And Vanessa reminded me as well that our dispatch center is 1B, and they have started receiving vaccines as well.
Thank you, Manager Miller. I appreciate the update. I am definitely concerned about all of our employees and, people in public works, people in the administration buildings that are still coming into work. And so I hope that we will see them being vaccinated. I wanted to share a piece of good news that this afternoon I was on the NACO Arts and Culture Committee meeting, and it seems that in the $9 billion stimulus fund, there is $15 billion for Save Our Stages Act. So that means that places like local theaters, the Lindsay, the Opera, all of our playhouses around the Rufina Street area, maybe even Wolf, I don't know who can actually apply for this, but it is this distinctly, the act is called Save Our Stages, and they're just rolling it out. So it's local theaters, and it's for 6 months of operations, maintenance, and payroll. And it's just been announced, and it's a $10 million limit. So for those larger companies in Santa Fe that might have a stage such as the Opera, the Lindsay Theater, and other places along the Rufina corridor, I think it's a really important process. As you all know, I have a master's degree in art, so I care deeply about art and my artist friends, and because I know that during this pandemic, they are some of the people who are really struggling to make ends meet. So on this topic, I just wanted to share that, since I just heard this news and it's supposedly hot off the press. So thank you for your update, and I appreciate all that we're doing for our community.
Thank you, Commissioner Hansen, and thank you for that update. Manager Miller, was there any other questions from commissioners? Okay. Hearing none. Okay, go ahead, Manager
Mr.
Miller.
Chair, that was it on the COVID updates, and then our next item was our legislative updates. Before I turn it over to Hutch to give a update on pre-filed bills, I wanted to give an overview of what we're trying to do on this portion of the agenda. So, well, this will be a standing item on the agenda through the legislative session, and then even afterwards through the bill signing period. We'll give you, Hutch participates in the committee meetings and follows, tracks bills, and has a lot of information on any of the bills that you're interested in, supporting, opposing, following. And if you have anything that isn't in his reports or he doesn't bring up, but you're interested in, please make sure you send either through your liaisons or directly to me and Hutch and Tessa Joe your areas of interest, so that we can put it on the list to track and provide you updates, periodic updates to any of those items, legislative items that you would be interested in. Additionally, as I've said, one of the things we're trying to do with the capital outlay requests. Earlier in the fall, we didn't actually think that there would be any capital outlay, but I have it on good authority. The state has built up their reserves over the last year. So they do anticipate having some capital outlay. While it may not be amounts that we've seen in the past, I do think they will provide some funding to local capital projects. We've put together a matrix that we had asked you for priorities from your commission districts, and we tried to cross-reference those with legislative districts so that we could find projects that are on our ICIP, that are projects that we believe we could move forward on some level if we received an appropriation, and put those, you'll see in a spreadsheet that Tessa's going to present, you will see what we are looking at to put in a packet to the legislators that makes specific requests of each legislator and a comprehensive request of our whole legislative delegation. I know that you will see that we did not ask for everything. If I took everybody's top 5, we would have 25 different projects we were asking for funding for, along with our top 5 for the county, and have 25 or 30 projects that we would be requesting capital outlay. As you know, getting 10 or 20 appropriations for $50,000 does not help us move the needle on our projects. So we are trying to be a little more strategic in what we're asking for. So you'll see that we did try to focus on amounts that we could reasonably get from legislators on projects that we know are either in their district or that they have an interest in supporting, and that they would likely put some funding towards. The way that the Santa Fe delegation has indicated to us that they typically look at capital outlay is they look at it as a group, and they try to meet some of our requests by putting their resources together. So we can certainly make some adjustments to this, but I would respectfully request that we don't add any more projects to it. If we have any more projects added to it, it's just more funding that we will have difficulty moving out the door. So I think even if we got half of what we are requesting, we'll have some difficulty expending those funds in a timely fashion, because these are projects that are not fully funded. So with that, I'm going to first turn it over to Hutch to talk about the pre-filed legislation and his report, and then Tessa Joe will take it from there with the capital projects.
Okay, thank you, Manager Miller.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I think we are waiting for, there we go. Oh, I got to introduce myself again. Almost forgot. Hutchie Miller, Santa Fe County Manager's Office. And Daniel has put up the 14-page report that I had sent out earlier today regarding the pre-filed legislation. And what I have here is all the items that have been pre-filed since the start, which was January 4th. And there are 70 Senate items, and there are 61 House items. And if you have, or when you go through this, you can see there's a variety of different pieces of legislation. So everything's not just focused on budget and COVID matters and pandemic relief. There's still a variety of different pieces of legislation contained within here. The particular highlighted items that I have on the list are those items which have already been supported in a resolution or are potentially to be supported through resolution passage today. And what I have on here are, on page 1 from Senator Souls, is citizens' environmental rights. On page 2, number 12, housing trust appropriation from Senator Rodriguez. Page 5, number 51, tax credits for electric motor vehicles and registration fees. Page number 6, item 57, clean energy for new construction of energy facilities. Number 61, Local Choice Energy Act. And number 66 on page 7. This relates to the operations of county government, which in this is related to an item from the treasurer's offices. So local government federally insured obligations clarification. And that's from Senator Rodriguez. In the House pre-filed legislation, I see that one of the major items is on page 13, and that's House Joint Resolution number 1, and that's use of permanent funds for early childhood education. And to speak about the amount of legislation that's going to come through, in previous presentations that I had spoken about limiting the amount of legislation that legislators may be able to introduce, and that does seem to be the case that's going to go forward in the House, and that's going to be limiting House members to 5 pieces of legislation. So that in total would allow 225 pieces of legislation from the Democrats to be introduced, and 125 total pieces of legislation that the Republicans could introduce. So for a 60-day session, that really does narrow down the amount of legislation that's going to be introduced. Usually the bill numbers go into the thousands in a 60-day session, and so it's going to be considerably less. As far as the Senate side, there hasn't been any limitation put in place right now, so they are still able to introduce as many pieces of legislation as they would like to for now. The governor has not provided an agenda stating what types of legislation will be on the call. So it's not known exactly yet what is going to be allowed to be introduced and what is deemed as germane. So some of these items that are pre-filed right now, they could potentially be considered not germane, and they wouldn't be heard within the 60-day session. The governor did provide her budget recommendations yesterday, and that does give us a picture of what is going to be seen and what is going to be dealt with in the budget as a whole. And I can go over those items right now, and that will give us a better picture of what the legislature and the governor will be looking at next week and in the coming weeks. In her recommendations, she recommended $475 million for pandemic relief, $893 million for behavioral health support across state agencies, $193 million for early childhood education, $5 million for adolescent young adult suicide prevention, $151 million for K+ extended learning time, technical education, and community school programs. $26 million recommended to continue the promise for tuition-free education at one of New Mexico's public colleges. $4 million for a pilot program for students that lost the lottery scholarship. $25 million to restore and vitalize the tourism economy. $10 million for broadband expansion. $4 million for cybersecurity. $2 million for innovative grid modernization projects. And lastly, $6 million to the Secretary of State to fund local elections. And so with that, that's a glimpse of what's on the table right now. And like I had mentioned previously, we will get a better picture of what all the 60-day session will entail once the governor puts forth her agenda and lets it clearly be known what she wants to be dealing with for the coming session. And I don't know if we're going to do questions now or wait till Tessa presents.
Mr. Chair, maybe you could, if there's any questions for Hachi on these items, we could take those now and then, because there may be quite a bit of discussion on capital.
Mr. Chair, you're muted.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Commissioner Hamilton. And then I saw Commissioner Garcia also raise his hand, and then I'll look for any other commissioners that would like to speak. Commissioner Hamilton?
I just had a quick question. Thank you so much for the update, Hachi, and it's all very informative. But in the handout, the 14 pages, and the pre-filed bills that you highlighted, are those ones that you've sort of preliminarily identified to follow based on, the priorities we've talked about? Well, I guess I'll just do the whole thing all at once, because I wonder, there are a couple, I noticed a couple of other things that might be consistent that are pre-filed, like number 6 by Senator Cedillo Lopez on water use and regulation in the oil and gas industry, and that's probably something that fits into our general umbrella of environmental concerns. So anyway, I was just wondering if what you're attempting to do is to highlight the ones we want to follow.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hamilton, yes, that's what I've done right now. The environmental issues resolution is on for today, so it's not passed yet, but looking at the legislation that's before us, that's been pre-filed, that's what I was doing, just going through and looking at those items which might pertain to that specific resolution. Also within there, I see that there is photovoltaic requirements for school buildings, and that could be potentially one of the tracking items for the county as well, because within the proposed resolution, we have support of having green energy requirements for public buildings as well. So upon further review, we're going to be adding a lot more of track legislation, and we'll be updating you weekly on those. So we won't be waiting till every commission meeting, but we'll be providing an update on a weekly basis at the very least.
That sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. Commissioner Garcia?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Hansen?
Thank you. I want to know if you want us to give you some of the numbers of the bills that we already see, like House Bill 49. I would like us to support, which is removing tax on Social Security. But I haven't read the bill, and I think that is a complicated, probably, bill that needs to be looked at. Like, I think it should have a age, not age, but a monetary income. So let's say they make over $50,000 do they still get the tax exempt? But if they're under 50,000, I'm just using that as a number. I think that then they might need to get an exemption. So I would be interested in seeing that bill in more detail. I think that 10 million for broadband is nowhere near enough. We do need a state plan, and if that's to design a state plan, maybe that's enough, but it's not certainly enough to install it and connect everyone. But as I have been thinking about the broadband issue, it is clear to me that this county by county piecemeal idea is not really going to help because we need to be able to reach many of our counties throughout the state and help them get on a better footing with broadband. I mean, even this call, we have issues, so it's not like we've solved that problem. We're far from it. So I'm happy to hear that there's money in the feed bill. I haven't been able to really go through all of the bills, but I know that there are going to be more bills entered. And, one of the bills that I am concerned about is childcare. I've been concerned about this for 50 years. It was part of the women's movement platform in the 70s to make sure that women had childcare and adequate childcare, and that also that they're provided a stipend or something for diapers, which are incredibly expensive for lower income people. So I hope that we can look out for something like that. And I will just keep paying attention to issues that I think are important. So thank you. And thank you, Hachi, for getting this all together. I always appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Commissioner Hughes?
I don't have any questions. I think this information is very helpful. So thank you for all the work that went to put that list together. But that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. And I would agree. The information that you provided, Hachi, was very informative. We appreciate you keeping us up to date. Okay, so I believe that Tessa will be speaking next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Daniel, if you'll put up the first spreadsheet that was attached to board docs. As County Manager Miller briefly mentioned earlier, we requested from each commissioner a list of their top 5 priority capital projects. So as you'll see, once the spreadsheet comes up, we listed the top 5 priorities and what district they were in on the left side. And then on the top, we listed the legislators and indicated which district that particular project is in. So we took those projects as a starting point and began to filter them down as far as in order to get under 25 projects and those projects that are of most importance, of mutual importance to the commissioners, and also are viable projects. So Daniel, if you'll pull up the second spreadsheet. as he pulls that up on the second spreadsheet, this information is based on the ICIP and also the commission requests. So this is a list of the projects, what districts they are in that you all commissioners have sent us. We tried to do an equal amount in each of the commission districts. And we also tried to get a project in each of the legislators' districts. One thing I'd like to know, if you go all the way to the side, Daniel, about this spreadsheet, go all the way to the right, sorry. There is a certain amount that is in the ICIP that was approved in December. That's the current ICIP request. However, there are some of these projects that have a really high dollar amount. So there are some that we have reduced into phases, such as design and planning. But these are the priorities that you as commissioners identified. There were many that were mutually suggested by the commissioners, and we stand for any determination that you would like us to make regarding our submission of the capital outlay requests.
And Mr. Chair, I did want to comment, you'll notice the notes along the side on some of these committee and staff that worked on putting the ICIP together may not have recommended requesting funding on some of them because we are not quite ready. But we went ahead and put some in anyway. For instance, the Chupadero water system. We know that one's we've already got some funding for it. We're trying to get the improvements to the tank. We've got some easement issues, but it's also one that we believe Chupadero Mutual Domestic will request funding for. And we know that there's support for, so we figured we would likely request some funding, even though we might not be able to spend it for a year or two. We just have to be mindful that once we get an appropriation for something like that, the clock starts ticking, and we need to find the rest of the funds, and we need to keep them moving. So I just wanted to let you know that you will see the notes along the side, but we still are likely to request some funding from those legislators whose district that is in, because we know they support it.
Okay, thank you for that clarification and extra information. I'm going to go to the commission. Do we have any other questions from the commission? So I'll look for a show of hands.
Mr. Chair, I just hit a few of the columns so that you all can get a more full description of the projects and the requests, since it's such a large spreadsheet.
Okay. Okay. I'm just going to go to each commissioner and just make sure that nobody has questions. Commissioner Hughes, did you have any additional questions or comments?
Yeah, I think I don't exactly understand the second chart. So some of the projects I see are listed here, but then there's a recommendation not to fund them, but some projects aren't even on the chart. What does it mean if the project's not on the chart?
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hughes, we have, as I said at the beginning of this, part of our presentation is that there's 40 projects on the ICIP or something, 40 plus projects. We do not write letters to the legislators for every single project that's on our ICIP. We try to focus on individual requests of them, nor do we enter every single one of them into the database or into the capital outlay request forms. This year, they've actually automated it. It's a database that we actually have to go in and electronically fill things out. We used to just do individual sheets. And the reason we don't is we don't want 40 different projects getting a little bit of funding. We would like the legislators to focus on a smaller number of the projects, of 10 projects, or and then they're going to get requests from entities outside of Santa Fe County as well. And so what's on this list are the ones that we are going to request, specifically request funds for. This is such a complicated process because it doesn't really work. And that is that the state legislature says that they want us to have an ICIP and put our top 5 priorities and ask for those projects. We do that. We put together an ICIP, a 5-year ICIP. We prioritize our projects and we list our top 5. Then we also ask you to give us some of your other ones, because not all of our top 5 are in every legislative district, and legislators don't particularly like to fund projects not in their district. So we try to actually put together a spreadsheet that shows something. If it's not specifically right in their district, it's something that, and that's what this sheet is, that Daniel pulled up. We're trying, or Tessa pulled up, we're trying to show you of what's on our ICIP and of what was in your commission districts and your top 5 projects. These are whose legislative district they fall into and whose commission district they fall into. And we try to cross-reference that and come up with a list of approximately 10 projects that we actually specifically request funding for. In this sheet where we gave you our notes, we're telling you, typically we wouldn't ask for money on some of these, but I'll give you Chupadero Water System, for example. We're going to ask for it because the total project is 1.5 million. Actually, the total project is multi-phases, and we've already received some funding. We've put in some county funding, but to really complete that project, we still need another 1.5, 1.6 million. It's not likely we'll get all of that in one legislative cycle. So we're still going to ask for some, even though we're not ready to spend it. So, as I said, it's a complicated process, and it's not logical, and it doesn't really fit any perfect way to do it. But we're trying to put together a letter and a spreadsheet that we send to our delegation that says, if you're going to appropriate some money, we sure would like you to appropriate it to these things within Santa Fe County, because we will work to get it expended. They will appropriate to whatever they so choose, though, and that creates a whole nother list of projects that we end up having on our plate and not really knowing where to fit it into county priorities and into our ICIP. So these are all ones on our ICIP. These are all ones we intend on completing at some point. They are in our 5-year plan. And the ones, as you look through this chart, where we put dollar amounts, we plan to provide a letter as well as an overall spreadsheet to our legislators, so they know what we're asking for.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that additional explanation. So basically everything on chart 2 is something we're going to ask for, even if we're not quite ready. Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, so for instance, with Chupadero, we know for a fact that Senator Worth and Representative Romero support that project. And they'd likely, and it's likely that the mutual domestic will ask them for funding anyway. We're letting them know, we'll take it and we'll do what we can, even though we're not quite ready to go on to the next phase.
Thank you. I have no more questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Commissioner Hansen?
I don't have any questions at the moment.
Thank you, Commissioner Hansen. Commissioner Hamilton?
Thank you. I don't have any questions at this time either. Thank you.
Commissioner Garcia?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it. So we can move on to our next item, which is 5C, and this is a resolution in support of legislation in the 2021 New Mexico legislative session related to the advancement of environmental sustainability and climate action. And we have Commissioner Hansen.
Commissioner Hansen, you're muted.
Commissioners, Mr. Chair, I am asking for your support on this resolution that defines many of the things that we have supported throughout the years that I have been here and are continuing to support. And I can read everything, but consensus among world-leading scientists that climate change causes emissions of greenhouse gases, and that human activity is among the most significant problem threatening ecological sustainability. So we have a list of a number of bills that would help move that forward. And they are numbered, relates to the advancement of environmental sustainability, resilience, and climate action. Will authorize the development of a community solar program that provides customers with voluntary options of accessing solar energy produced by a community solar facility, increase options for community consumers to choose clean sources of energy by opening electric markets to competition, accelerate the adoption of technology and practices that will result in one or more of the following: decrease emissions from transportation, increase access to no carbon transportation options, especially for lower income houses, decrease reliance on vehicle ownership, and decrease vehicle miles traveled, create a tax credit for the purchase and lease of vehicles, electric vehicles for the installation at home. And I did see that one bill on there. I hope there is another bill that will help people, since charging stations at home are considered capital investments for people, incentivize energy efficiency related to technology that decreases energy consumption, incentivize the adoption of retrofitting of existing buildings with technology, and will increase transparency, agency cooperation, will increase funding for the New Mexico Environment Department. This is incredibly important to me. I feel that if we do not get the New Mexico Environment Department more money to do inspections, we will continue to have more leaks from methane and other issues. Yesterday, I spoke at the Oil Conservation Committee in support of stronger legislation for methane capture, promote water use, focus on local food systems, which I think you all know. I have a strong belief in healthy soils, promote water reuse, water planning, and will codify New Mexico state targets for greenhouse gas emissions reduction, acceleration, our progress and meet the goals of the Paris Agreement, etc., and advance the environmental sustainability of Santa Fe County, including carbon neutrality, ecological resilience, economic viability, be it further resolved. And it goes on to talk about anything, it's a broad resolution about, supporting the Green Amendment to the New Mexico Constitution, adding new sections this resolution will represent a majority intent of the board in the 2021 legislative session. And I ask for that, that you would please pass this. So I make a motion to approve this resolution.
Second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. Under discussion, I just want to just say thank you for bringing this resolution forward. Are there any other comments on their discussion?
Mr. Chair. So one other thing I want to mention is over the weekend, I watched a video with Greta Thunberg and the Dalai Lama, and it was incredibly interesting for them to start talking. It was about climate change, and it was about how there is this new theory of feedback loops. And what these feedback loops have is it's mostly related to the melting of ice in the Arctic and how detrimental that is to everything, and that it is speeding up the desert, the climate situation that we are in, and warming the planet even more. And it was partially things that were not taken into account beforehand. So all the stuff that we have said in the past about how fast climate change is happening, these feedback loops show it even speeding up even faster. And if you want to Google it, there's it's feedback loops climate. And Richard Gere has narrated like 5 videos on helping people understand the seriousness of the Arctic ice melt. And because with each melting at the Arctic, more methane is released, and the circle goes faster and faster. And what we really need to do is turn these feedback loops back the other way to cool our planet. And so it was a very interesting discussion. There was a couple scientists who have developed this theory, and I hope that you will all look at it. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Okay, so I want to go. I do want to thank you for once again for bringing that resolution forward. And we have item number 5D, and this is a resolution in support of legislation in the 2021 New Mexico legislative session to establish a state public bank owned by and for the people of New Mexico. And we have Commissioner Hamilton and also Commissioner Hughes on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, but with respect, I believe we have a.
Oh, you are correct.
I'm not sure we voted on.
You're correct. Sorry about that. Okay, so we did have a motion and a second, and so we'll go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hanson?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes, and thank you, Commissioner Hanson, for your dedication to this issue.
And a yes from Commissioner Roybal, so this item passes unanimously. I'm going to go ahead and go to Madam Clerk for a resolution number.
Yes, that resolution would have been 2021-005.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, so our next resolution on the agenda is 5D, and this is a resolution in support of legislation to the 2021 New Mexico legislature session to establish a state public bank owned by the people of New Mexico. And we have Commissioner Hamilton and Commissioner Hughes. I'll go to Commissioner Hamilton first.
Thank you very much. The detailed information is here for everybody to read. the fact is that there have been a group of people working and exploring the possibilities of doing public banking for several years. It takes a while to develop this kind of idea, to explore what would fit specifically in our communities. I think they started out smaller, and this has been moved to a state level, and it is finally getting some traction. I'll let Commissioner Hughes speak to this more, but in fact, there is additional interest in green banking, which is something Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Hanson have been looking into. I don't believe this sort of thing is necessarily in conflict, but the idea of establishing public banking in New Mexico is capturing the idea of being able to feed the unique needs of New Mexico entrepreneurs and governments, local governments and community initiatives, and keep tax money and investment money to a much greater extent in New Mexico for our economic benefit. I think it is an idea that's really coming to fruition at this point, and is fairly timely, because while I mentioned that this has been under development for a while, it just seems even more important now with the more acute need for economic recovery. You know, I have every expectation that while this is now gained traction in the legislature, things hardly ever happen instantly. It will most certainly undergo some additional development and modification, but I think this concept is well worth supporting. And you know, clearly we have resolutions to talk about, you know, the list of other kinds of topics we generally want to support, but there are these several resolutions that focus on individual topics, Commissioner Hanson having just presented the first one, because they are either new, like this public banking, and there was a desire to put forth the particulars, or ongoing, like the environmental focus that and resilience that Commissioner Hanson just presented, because it continues. I mean, we have talked about this before, but it continues to be so important. So with that, you know, I think this public banking thing is very worthwhile, very worth considering, and I'll defer to Commissioner Hughes to add additional comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Hamilton, for allowing me to sign on to this bill. I also think this is a great idea, and I think you covered most of the major points. I think, you know, to make it very simple, my thought about public banking is, you know, especially in a state where we have such a big land grant permanent fund, why are we investing our money in such a way that enriches out-of-state bankers and people on Wall Street when we could be using it to grow our own economy? And this is only one tool. We have, you know, a lot of tools that have developed over the years. So I think the trick will be, you know, finding out what the place is for a state public bank, what its purpose is, and how we can best utilize it. And of course, while still protecting the public money that we have to protect on a state level. You know, in terms of the green bank, you know, that's something that's been presented to a couple of us, Commissioner Hanson and I, as a possibility for a much smaller effort that we might want to look at helping to get started sooner. The Santa Fe Community Foundation has been interested in investing some of their money in a green bank type thing. So this is definitely an idea whose time has come. It's something that we can do for our citizens and for our economy that doesn't cost us any money, because we would just be investing And I think with the state bank, it wouldn't be the county investing, it would be the state. But anyway, this is a very important idea to bring forward. So urge you all to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair,
Hughes.
with that,
You go ahead, Commissioner Hamilton.
I just assumed it was appropriate to make a motion and then go to further discussion if that's appropriate.
Absolutely, I was going to actually ask for that. So I'd
So
like for
I would like,
motion
oh yeah,
to
I would
come
like to make a
from-
motion.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, that's the motion. I'll make a motion
All
to
And
pass
I will
this.
second it. I would
So
like
I
to
was,
second
I
the
was,
motion.
all right. So we have a motion and a second. I was actually going to ask that the two commissioners that brought this forward made a motion and a second. So that's what I was trying to get out there. So I'm glad that it worked out that way. So we have a motion from Commissioner Hamilton and a second from Commissioner Hughes, a very excited second from Commissioner Hughes. And so we're going to go ahead and go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hanson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the great concept and great idea. I think we need to start working on moving it forward, but yes, totally.
Okay, and a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So this resolution passes unanimously. Can we get a resolution number, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Chair Roybal, it is Resolution 2021-006.
2021-006. Okay. So next we're going to go on to our next item. And this is a resolution. It's item number 5E, and it's a resolution in support of legislation in the 2021 New Mexico legislative session that promotes actions related to the appropriate funding for creation of rehabilitation of and capital projects that directly affect affordable housing in Santa Fe County, and also supporting the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority MFA legislative agenda for 2021 that may directly benefit Santa Fe County. Commissioner Hank Hughes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a resolution that would be supporting two efforts in the state legislature this year. One of them was already on the chart that we saw, which was requesting the legislature to appropriate another $12 million to the State Housing Trust Fund, which is used to help finance affordable housing throughout New Mexico. And also, as part of that effort, the MFA is asking the legislature to expand uses for the trust funds for things that might have been useful during this pandemic and would certainly be useful if there's another emergency, to help renters as well as to capitalize construction of affordable housing. And I think all of us live in Santa Fe County. We know that, affordable housing is an issue everywhere, but it's particularly acute in Santa Fe County, where we're short well over 5,000 units of affordable housing, and that number has only gone up year after year. We've been talking about affordable housing in this community ever since I moved here over 30 years ago, and so I think we need to support our legislators in anything that will help us increase our stock of affordable housing. The other part of this bill is really supporting an effort by Representatives Rubio and Romero to modernize housing policy in the state, and that would provide us with some things that needed to be added to our landlord-tenant law, such as prohibiting income source discrimination so that people couldn't be discriminated against in renting an apartment simply because they had a public voucher to pay part of the rent. It would extend some of the time frame for renters to correct lease violations and pay rent. That's something that's been necessary for a while. Supporting legislation that upholds the current rent and utility moratoriums and encourages utilities to establish a partial forgiveness program for past due bills accumulated during COVID-19. And then also Finally, prohibiting property managers from refusing to renew a lease during a declared health emergency. What we have found is that some low-income tenants who were not able to stay current on their rent, and of course, there's a moratorium on evicting them, but then when their lease ended, the protections apparently also ended, and so people were still being evicted. So if anybody has questions, I would be happy to answer them. I think these are all very reasonable requests of the state legislature that we should support. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Do we have any questions, Commissioner Hanson?
I would like to second this. Thank you, Commissioner Hughes, for bringing this forward. I have been a long supporter of affordable housing and working on these issues. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Commissioner Garcia, did you have a question, sir?
No, I vote for this as well. Thank you, Commissioner Hughes, for bringing this forward. You, out of anybody on this county commission that has worked with affordable housing or individuals that need housing, you've been there, you've done that. We've worked on CDBG grants in the past, and you live, eat, and breathe that. I appreciate you bringing this forward. I'm 100% for this. Thank you, Commissioner Hughes, for bringing this forward. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Okay, so Commissioner Hamilton, did you have a question or comment? We did have a motion and a second, so if there's any further discussion.
No, just the same thank you for bringing this forward.
Absolutely, and I would ditto those comments. Thank you so much, Commissioner Hughes. So we do have a motion and from Commissioner Hughes, a second from Commissioner Hanson. I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
And a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So this item passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, can we get a resolution number?
Yes, resolution in support of legislation for the 2021 New Mexico legislative session that promotes affordable housing issues 2021-007.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Clark. So we're going to go on to item number 5F. And this is a resolution identifying Santa Fe County 2021 legislative priorities. And this is a resolution that's brought forward by myself and Commissioner Garcia. I'll go to Commissioner Garcia.
Mr. Chair, I think some of these resolution items that we're bringing forward as on behalf of the entire board are really good. The cannabis stuff, behavioral health that everybody's working towards. The PRA stuff is great. The fresh fruits and vegetables is great. And then recognizing the need for racial and social justice, which is actually kind of, unfortunately, we're dealing with this stuff now in our nation. And what happened last week as into individuals going into the state capitol, going into Speaker Pelosi's office and everywhere else, it's just uncalled for. But I just would like to bring that. And if you have anything else, Mr. Chairman, please present it.
No, I think that you definitely went over and summarized it very well, the different priorities that this does sort of do a catch-all resolution for 6 different priorities, which you mentioned and touched on. So they're all very important to our community and also our county. So I appreciate that. Are there any other questions or comments from commissioners?
Mr. Chair, this is Rudy again. Sorry. So there's only 5. There's only 5 on this resolution, not 6, correct?
Hold on there.
I see 6.
Yeah, there's a 6th one, Commissioner Garcia, and that is supports the protection and enhancement of pollinator species and their habitat. So that was the 6th one, sir.
Okay, so on supporting banning animal trapping on public lands, that's not a part of this resolution, correct?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Sure.
Okay, Commissioner Hanson, I saw your hand up earlier.
Yes, I was just going to point out that item 6 had not been mentioned, but I appreciate Commissioner Garcia and Commissioner Roybal bringing all of these important issues forward, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hansen. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and have Commissioner Garcia, if you'd like to make a motion, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. And I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hansen?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
And a yes from Commissioner Roybal, so this item also passes unanimously. Clerk Clark, can we get a resolution number?
Yes, for the legislative priorities, it's resolution 2021-008.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go on to item number G. And this is a letter of appreciation to the congressional delegation concerning enactment of amendments to the Amat Litigation Settlement Act to conform act to the 611G agreement. And so who is this an action item that we need an action on, Attorney Schaefer?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Hansen?
So this is a letter just thanking three of our representatives, Heinrich, the Honorable Martin Heinrich, U.S. Senator, the Honorable Ben Ray Lujan, and Deb Holland for getting the 611G through. And there was also funding in the stimulus bill to fulfill the agreement by the federal government to fund the Amet situation. I do have one request that the CC says Santa Fe County Commissioners and County Manager, and I would like to request that we list the names of the county commissioners who are thanking our delegation.
Okay. That would be fine for a friendly amendment, but I guess my question to our county attorney, is this something that you just need direction on, or do we need to make a motion and vote on sending this? I was thinking it was just direction, but if you can clarify that.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we did style this as an action item because typically when the chair or someone else purports to speak on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, we do bring that forward as an action item. In addition, it seemed appropriate in this instance to do that because it is an expression of gratitude to our congressional delegation to have the fact that that thank you letter or expression of gratitude was formally approved in an open meeting. We thought would be appropriate given the sentiment that was being expressed.
Okay, thank you for that explanation, Attorney Schaefer. Did you have an additional question, Commissioner Hansen?
Yeah, I was also hoping that we would send a letter like this to former Senator Tom Udall, who played a large part in getting this money. And he does have a home address here in Santa Fe. So I think we could send him a letter also thanking him. And I'm going to make a motion to include that and to include all the Santa Fe County Commissioners' names and the county manager's name on this letter. That's my motion.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Hansen to put some friendly amendments in this letter. Commissioner Hamilton?
I just have a question about those amendments because they sound like a very good idea. I just want to, I guess to clarify the motion. Is it possible, or is what's being requested to do a letter to Senator Udall? I think that's. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that's a good idea. Or can we just add him to this letter? Either way is fine with me. I will second the motion. I would like to second the motion, but I just wanted to clarify that.
I understood that it would be a separate letter, but perhaps that's not what was intended.
It could be a separate letter, or we could just add his name in as, the Honorable Tom Udall, former New Mexico senator, and list an address for him, or I can try and get an address from some of my contacts that where they would like this sent.
Okay, Commissioner Hamilton.
I mean, I don't know if there's some formal protocol that would speak to this. In the absence of formal protocol, I would think it would be polite to put him on this letter and send it all at once. That might just be my personal perception. It might be against some protocol I don't know about. So that's why I was asking.
I would support that as well. Commissioner Garcia?
Just really quick, Mr. Chair, I agree with Commissioner Hamilton. We thank our senators and our congressional delegation. One of the persons that's not around anymore is Senator Domenici. Senator Domenici actually was the finance director for the Congress, and he carried this bill for many, many years, and he actually started the ball rolling for this. And I also have some other questions. What about past commissioners that actually worked on this before I was here? They might want to be recognized as well. I'm saying, how does this work? Like Hamilton said, how does this work? I don't know. And the $137 million, I was never notified about that. Where did this come up from?
It was in the 900,000, the 900 billion stimulus package that passed Congress at the end of the year. It was put in as one of the many amendments to congressional legislation that was finally signed. I think at the very end of the year, or right before the last Congress closed.
So really, Mr. Chairman, this is awesome. This is great. But like Hamilton said, who do you think? Because Domenici was involved in this, and I would just like to know, how come staff didn't let us know that we got $137 million from our delegation? That would have been great to put a news release out there. It would have been awesome. But this is the first I hear the $137 million, which is great. But
I forwarded. I saw it somewhere, Commissioner Garcia, and I forwarded it to the county manager. Came across on one of my many emails.
Mr. Chair, we're letting you all know now. This is what we had asked for in the last round of the 611G agreement, where we knew that the funding was short and we got commitment from the state to fund additional money through one of their appropriation bills and footnotes in their appropriation bill that they would come up to the 100 million. We, Santa Fe County, provided assurances that we would continue to build out distribution systems of 24 million over time, and the federal government was requested on numerous occasions in numerous ways from the tribes as well as the county and the state and BOR to fund an additional portion of the federal funding. I don't think this goes all the way back to the beginning. This funding is based upon the cost overruns that the project has encountered in the last few years and the increase in the estimated cost of the overall project. So I think it's appropriate for us to thank the Senator Udall and those who are on this letter, because this was a specific added on request to the original settlement. agreement and original appropriations, that it's come up in the last couple of years in trying to move this settlement forward. And we can check protocol-wise as to whether it's appropriate to put Senator Udall in the same letter as the sitting delegation. But either way, we'll make sure that a letter gets to Senator Udall as well as the 3 individuals who are on the letter currently drafted.
Okay. Thank you, Manager Miller. So we have a motion and a second. I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hanson?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, Manager Miller, if you can please just make sure the proper protocol would be great, because there's a lot of people that were involved for 25 years, 30 years, but I vote yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
And a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So this item passes unanimously. Okay, so that looks like that is our last item, and that was 5G.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Hanson.
I would like to, for our next meeting on the legislative session, be able to take a look at the Roxy law of trapping and poisoning on public land. At the moment, it has not been filed that I know of. So it is the same bill. It is similar to the same bill that was was on the floor a couple of years ago and that they pulled. And so I do have a copy, thanks to Ms. Smith. And it was House Bill 366, and it was introduced by Matthew McQueen, Christine Chandler, and Bobby Gonzalez at that point. So I think it's similar. I haven't seen the bill. They haven't dropped it yet, but I would appreciate it if that could be on our next.
So we're going on to item 6A. Do you want to just continue with anything else that you would request?
Oh, okay. I didn't.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're on to commissioner issues. So I am requesting that. I also wanted to share with everyone that this morning I was on a phone call with the New Mexico Environment Department on the benzene plume that is on the Baca Street and Cerrillos Road. It's a 30-year-old site, and it was a very interesting conversation. One of the wells there that does belong to the city of Santa Fe and drinking water is contaminated. And they do not know the complete spread of the benzene plume, but it is way out of compliance. And so I think that it was William Snyder gave a good presentation about it. And I know it is in the city, but the village of Agua Fria is downhill from that. And so both William, me, and myself were present. And it just is another situation where the New Mexico Environment Department does not have the money to clean up. And so that is one of the reasons why I have such a strong feeling that we need more money for the Environment Department. My idea for them to get more money is that all of half of all the inspection fees or penalties that they assign, instead of going to the general fund, would go back to half would go to the Environment Department and half would stay in the general fund. I believe it is a budget line item that Senator Rodriguez, or if she becomes the chair of Budget and Finance, and Patty Lundstrom could actually just do as a line item for the Environment Department. And I have been making that suggestion to a number of our legislators. And then I request the Roxy bill be looked at. And I think that is all that I have at the moment, but I'll let you know if I have more. And I updated you on the arts and culture, which I thought was really exciting to know that was that money was in the 900 billion bill that was passed at the end of the year, along with our 138 million. I wish it was billion. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hamilton. We're under Commissioners' issues, comments, including but not limited to constituent concerns, recognitions, requests for updates, and future presentations.
No, I actually don't have anything tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, Mr. Chair, a couple of things is the swearing in for the county for the newly elected officials. That was awesome. That was a great job. And I don't know who did that. Probably Daniel, because Daniel is the computer guy that puts all that stuff together. But if you did it, Daniel, and I heard you had done it, great job, because that was professional. That was great. So thank you for that. And then another thing is, I guess our ex-treasurer, Pat Varela, it's his birthday today. So I don't know if he's listening or not, but if you all see Pat Varela, be sure and tell him happy birthday, and thank you for his services you did for the last 8 years, and wish him a happy birthday, and it's his birthday day. Appreciate that. Also, I appreciate Commissioner Roybal giving your personal cell number out to the general public. That was pretty cool. That was good. That's what it's for, right? That's good.
I do it all the time on the radio station.
Right. I've heard that. And then another thing is maybe we can talk, with all due respect, Commissioner Henry, is maybe at the next agenda, we can actually put on the agenda as to what's happening with the roads up north. What is the process? What does it take? How long does it take? Who the staff's working on it? Maybe we can, if everybody's okay with that, maybe we can put that on the agenda. So that way people up north have an idea as to who to talk to, when to talk to. Just something to bring it out. Also, Commissioner Hanson, thank you for bringing up the $15 billion for that, for theaters and so on and so forth, because Madrid, they could use some of that money for that beautiful theater that's there, and so on and so forth. So I appreciate that. And with that, Mr. Chair, I have no more further questions. Thank you. Or comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. And I couldn't agree with you more. Daniel did a fantastic job, and I just appreciate all the resolutions and different things that have been brought forward tonight. Just really, really proud of the commission and staff. I think that we do a great job for our constituents. Commissioner Hughes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few things. And thank you, Daniel, for such a good job on that thing. I've got a lot of comments from my friends and family about what a nice presentation it was. And it's nice that people who might not have otherwise come in person got to see that. So it was good. And I just to mention a couple of things in my district. I think we had a really good meeting with the ECIA a couple of weeks ago, and they're very interested in public works projects in the El Dorado area. At my other public meeting, we had a lot of interest in public works projects, in the other part of my district over by the community college. So I'm very interested to be and looking forward to the meeting with Public Works. I think that's either next week or the week after. So I can really be updated on everything that's going on. And I think that there's probably going to be a lot of people interested in the capital outlay process. I hope we can sort of corral it into something that's very useful for everybody. But Catherine's right, that's kind of a chaotic process. I've been through that before. And yeah, I think also there's a lot of interest always in my constituents with environmental issues, including the upgrade of our sustainable land use development code to match with the state green building code. There's a lot of interest in that, as well as other environmental issues. And appreciate all of my constituents who reach out to me or come to the various meetings. It's been really good getting to know people. And that's it for now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. I appreciate all the information. Commissioner Hanson, you'd like another go?
Yes, I want to recognize Daniel also. Just yesterday, I got this really wonderful email from one of my really longtime friends in New York City. And she said, "Oh, I felt like I was there. It was so fantastic to be able to watch it and be there with you." So, you know, not only those of us locally who know the building, but people throughout the country were able to watch. And of course, my sister watched it in California. So we had a lot of people watching it from all over the United States. And I am really, really grateful to your great work. So thank you so much. And that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson, and thank you for recognizing the efforts of Mr. Frescus. Do you want to say anything? You could give some shout outs to anybody that helped you, or such good candidates that spoke on the, I thought Manager Miller did a great job.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, yes, Catherine and yourself did a great job. But Daniel, if you want to give me some shout outs, I'm all for it. Just kidding. But Catherine and Henry, you guys did an excellent job, as well as everybody that got sworn in. Congratulations and awesome job.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you. It was fun to put together. And what was weird is, like, I watched it probably about 100 and some times putting it together. But when I scheduled it to be live, it really did feel like you're watching it live with everybody. So it was pretty cool. But thank you all. And congratulations to the newly and re-elected officials.
Awesome. Great job, Daniel. Okay, so we're going to go on to item number 6B, and this is other elected officials' issues, comments, including but not limited to constituent concerns or recognitions or requests for updates and future presentations. I know that we have our newly elected clerk, Miss Catherine Clark. Sorry, it's a little tongue-tied with the clerk and Clark.
You are not the only one. I've gotten a lot of messages this week and chuckle every time the person on the phone is trying to leave a message. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, we'll get it. So, Madam Clerk, did you have any announcements or anything that you'd like to share with the general public, and your constituents?
No, that I'm just happy to be here. I was a little nervous about my first meeting, but it seemed to go pretty smoothly. And we actually have a lot of elections this year. So we're going to have a special election. We may have some bonds, and we're going to have a municipal. So we're going to be put through our paces this year. So we'll announce those as they come through.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And also, I know earlier I saw our newly elected treasurer, Ms. Jennifer Manzanares. Are you still on the line? Okay, do we have any other elected officials? Go ahead, Commissioner Garcia.
Just, Mr. Chair, really quick, Jennifer's not on the line, but welcome her, Clark. Welcome to our team. It's good to have you here, and it's good to have you here for whatever we can do as a county commission to help your department out. But welcome aboard. That's awesome. And
thank you.
Congratulations, because unless you're running for office, people don't realize how hard it is to run. But you did it, and great job. Congratulations, and welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. And I couldn't say it any better. We just want to, from the commission, we want to welcome you and know that the commission is here to work with you, both Treasurer Manzanares, and Clerk Clark. So we're here, and welcome aboard, and we look forward to working with you in the future. So thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? I know I saw a thumbs up from Commissioner Hughes. Okay.
Well, I'll just say welcome to both of our new clerk and our new treasurer. It's great to have them on. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next item, and this is 6D, and this is the election of the Board of County Commissioners Chair for 2021. Commissioner Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With tremendous respect and gratitude for being able to work with an incredible group of commissioners who are interactive and committed and incredibly well-informed and well-motivated, I would like to nominate our current chair, Commissioner Henry Roybal, to serve a second term as chair.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. Do we have any other nominations? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would like to second Commissioner Hamilton's nomination.
So we have a motion and a second. Under discussion, is there anything under discussion? Okay, I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Hansen? Commissioner Hansen? And a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So this item passes with the current commissioners that are here with the four votes. So we're going to move on to item number 6E. And this
Mr.
is,
Chair, I wonder if, I think Commissioner Hansen was just muted.
it shows, okay. Commissioner Hansen, are you, oh, there you are.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a unanimous decision on the item D, 6D. So we're going to go on to item number 6E. I do want to say that, it's been my honor and privilege to serve as the chair of the Santa Fe County Commission. And I'm also humbled to be elected to serve an additional year. So thank you to my fellow elected officials in supporting me. I do appreciate it. And I do want to actually make a motion to have Commissioner Hamilton as the vice chair.
Mr. Chair, this is Rudy. I would second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there anything under discussion? Okay, so I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Hughes.
Yes, I think I understand we're in extraordinary times here, and we're breaking with tradition to, continue with this. And I think that, we should probably, I would be in favor of going back to our rotational schedule next time this comes up. I think that was a good system. I do understand that during the pandemic, things are different, and I really appreciate Commissioner Roybal that you run a very good online meeting, and that's very helpful at this time. So thank you for that. But I just wanted to say that I was a little concerned that we were breaking with tradition, and I hope we go back to it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hughes, and thank you for your support. I appreciate that. I know that, running a meeting during these times and these online meetings are difficult, and they can be very difficult at times. So I appreciate that, and I know that it's not always an easy endeavor. So I appreciate the support and the comments, sir. So we have a motion and a second. I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Garcia.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Just I agree with Commissioner Hughes as into the rotation or the tradition. To bring it up, last year I was supposed to be part of the vice chair or the chairmanship, and I didn't get it. and I didn't get upset about it, but I see what Commissioner Hughes is saying, but yes, I vote for it. Motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson?
Yes.
And a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So this item passes unanimously as well. So I want to just, look forward to working with all of my elected officials and the commission for 2021. And I think that, we do have a great board, as we have reiterated in the past. I think all of us have special skills in different areas that we bring to the board. And so it's just really great because I know that I can rely on different commissioners to actually bring forward these issues and also help with, certain expertise in different areas. So I think we're a well-rounded board. So thank you all. Okay. Any other comments from commissioners? Okay, we're going to go on to item number 6F. And these are appointments of county commissioners, staff, boards, committees, including and following the following entities. And there's several boards that we all sit on. There's the Buckman Direct Diversion, Santa Fe Metropolitan Planning Organization, the North Central New Mexico Economic Development District, Northern Central Regional Transit District, Regional Coalition for Santa Fe County Audit Committee, the Estancia Valley Economic Development Association, Northern Rio Grande Heritage Area, the New Mexico Northern Area Workforce Development Area, CEOs, the New Mexico County Insurance Authority Board of Directors, and the New Mexico County Insurance Authority General Membership and Coalition of Sustainable Communities, New Mexico County. And from the county manager's office, we have Tessa Jo, and I'm hoping that we're putting on who current members are. Is that what I'm seeing? And see where the commission wants to go from here on these boards.
Yes, there is a matrix that was attached. So if you will pull that up, Daniel.
There it is.
Should be an attachment, yes. So if you all would like, we can go through each one on the list and you can tell me what changes you would like to make, if that order works for all of you.
One thing that we might be able to do is go through the commission and see, are there any commissioners that are interested in changing their boards, or would everybody like to stay on the board that they currently are on? I guess that would be one way that we can kind of get through it a little bit quicker.
Mr. Chair, this is Rudy. I'm okay staying on the boards that I've on.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner Hamilton.
I just wanted to comment, to suggest two things. I'm perfectly happy I'm very happy with the boards I'm on and would like to stay. With respect to Buckman, myself and Commissioner Hanson are on that board. I would just respectfully say that I think is one that would be incredibly beneficial if we retained it that way. There's a huge, very impactful things happening on BDD that two of us have tremendous institutional knowledge of at this point. On the other hand, much as I like it and think it's very important, with respect to the Coalition of Sustainable Communities, I'm the alternate on that. I follow that. Commissioner Hanson carries the lion's share of the actual work on that. She's really good at keeping all of that, informed on that. I know that Commissioner Hughes is very interested in that. And I had offered and would be very happy to give Commissioner Hughes to be alternate on that, because I feel like I would still have every opportunity to stay up to date and on what's going on with that board. sustainability is something that it's clearly important to everybody on the board. But it's definitely very important to me when there have been big things going on. Commissioner Hansen has always brought them forward. And so I feel like this was an opportunity for Commissioner Hughes to get more involved in something that's very important to him also, and that he has a lot to contribute to. But so that's actually the only change I was going to, suggest.
Okay, well, we appreciate that, and especially giving the opportunity to a new commissioner that that he has a deep passion in that area. Commissioner Hughes, how does that sound to you, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Roybal and Commissioner Hamilton. Yes, I would love to be the alternate on the Sustainable Communities group. So that suits me very well.
Okay, great.
So, Mr. Chair, I have a quick question. So, Commissioner Hughes will actually be taking over ex-Commissioner Moreno's spots on the committees, correct? As well as this new one.
That is correct. And
Okay.
I was going to go to Commissioner Hughes next and see, besides the change that we just made, Commissioner Hughes, did you have any other requests of changes, or are you okay with those boards?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm fine with the committees I'm on. I'm also interested in the investment committee, and it looks to me like Commissioner Hamilton will now be the vice chair, would be the principal. So I would be interested in being the alternate on the investment committee also. And with that, I would be willing to give up any of the other committees that people wanted in case I'm on too many committees.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to give him some committees if you'd like some more committees. I'm just kidding. Thank you.
No, the other way.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes, for stepping up.
I want to give Commissioner Garcia a few committees.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So I know on both of those committees, you're actually the alternate. I'm not sure if there's quite a few too many, but Tessa, if you could kind of look at that and then give us an idea afterwards how many each one of us have. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hansen. Commissioner Hansen, you're muted.
Thank you. I basically want to stay on all the committees I'm on. I see that we have 2 alternates on the investment committee, and I would like to be, or I thought we had 2 alternates on the investment committee. Is that not true? I saw one sheet. I don't see it here.
I believe we're required to that the chair and the vice chair be the primary members on investment committee. I don't believe there is a requirement as far as the number of alternates.
So I would like to be an alternate on that. Then I will stay on all the committees that I am on. I can't see, is this all the committees that there are? Am I looking at everything that I need to see since?
Yes, ma'am. It appears a little bit small on the screen, but it's also on board docs.
I opened it on board docs. That's where I think I saw. Okay. Okay, I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hansen. Commissioner Garcia, we went to you already, Commissioner Hamilton. So I'm okay with the boards that I'm sitting on right now as well. And the alternates, then I'm an alternate on the MPO and a couple other boards. So I'm fine with that as well. Tessa, do you have sort of a log of where we're at now with some of the minor changes that we made?
Yes, absolutely. I
Go
also
ahead,
believe
Manager
that
Miller.
there's,
Sorry, Tessa. Manager Miller had a comment. Go ahead, Manager Miller.
I needed to point out there's actually an error in this chart down at the bottom, the New Mexico County Insurance Authority member representative. It has you marked as that, but it's actually Greg, and I would like to recommend that Greg continue in that position. It's the position where they have very long meetings relative to insurance claims and the insurance pool. And Commissioner Roybal, you are the annual meeting member, though, for the annual meetings. You are the representative for that.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I know that Greg does a great job informing the board in regards to the discussions in those meetings and keeping us abreast. So I'm fine with that. Thank you.
also, in previous years, it appears as though we had one alternate on the investment committee. Catherine or Greg, do you all happen to be aware that whether we could add an alternate, or should we decide just upon one?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Tessa Joe, the investment policy that establishes the investment committee provides that the membership is the chair of the Board of County Commissioner or the chair's designee, and the vice chair of the Board of County Commissioners or the vice chair's designee. So I believe that allows for two alternates. I believe the actual practice of the Board of County Commissioners over the years is to designate the alternates through this annual process that we're currently going through. And I don't believe that that is inconsistent in a material respect with what's in the investment policy. So to sum up, I don't believe that there's any problem with there being two alternates for the investment committee. I don't think it inappropriate for this board to decide who those alternates are. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, I'm fine with that, and I don't think there was Commissioner Garcia. The investments board isn't something you're interested in. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I'm fine. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so then I would move that Commissioner Hanson be my alternate, and Commissioner Hamilton, if you want to make Commissioner Hughes your alternate.
Yes, I think that having both of them for alternates, I actually don't think we need to designate who's for who. It just is an official acknowledgement that they're alternates on their committee. And, you know, I don't know, we've switched around. I think Commissioner Hanson and I have been either on that committee or alternates for most of the years, and even when we're alternates, we often come. So it's sort of, if they both come to all the meetings, that's what about 40 years ago they would have said called groovy.
Yep, exactly. The more the merrier, right? Okay, sounds good. Tessa, did you have the kind of the numbers for us as far as how many boards we sit on, each commissioner?
I do not, but I can absolutely send that to you.
Okay, yeah, that'll be fine.
There is an even amount.
Okay, as long as the commissioner doesn't feel overwhelmed with if they have too many boards, then then they can probably talk to another commissioner, see if they would help with that. So we can always look and see what the numbers look like, but I don't think it's going to be too much more for Commissioner Hughes to have those additional two boards, because it is an alternate position as well. So I think it won't be as bad. So I think that was pretty quick and painless. So I think we are done with item 6F. Do we need to vote on this or have it as an action item? Do we have to make a motion? I believe so. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, I have
Yes.
one question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Hanson.
It's actually a question for Greg. Greg, can I have an alternate on the Northern Rio Grande National Heritage Area?
Commissioner Hanson, Mr. Chair, I don't know top of mind. I would have to look at their organizational documents. I will endeavor to do so. If I can't get you an answer right now, if it is permissible, we can bring that back as an action item at the next Board of County Commissioners meeting.
I am actually on their executive board, but I know that Commissioner Hughes did mention that he might be interested in being an alternate, and I don't know also from their documents how that would work. So if that's the discussion we could have, I would appreciate it.
So if we're able to add that additional individual to that board, can we can do that at a later date, or does that need to be part of this motion?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hanson, you could do it at a later date, or you could simply make the designation of an alternate for Commissioner Hanson. And then if it's allowed, then that'll be the alternate. If it's not allowed under the bylaws of the Northern Rio Grande Heritage Area, then it won't be allowed. No harm, no foul. But that way we could move along.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that.
So, Mr. Chair, I would be interested in being the alternate. Although I'm happy if someone else wants it, it's also fine. But I am interested in that committee, as I had told Commissioner Hanson earlier.
Okay. So if we can get a motion to approve the appointments as discussed, and the and changes, we'll go.
Mr. Chair, this is Rudy. I'll so move.
Second.
I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Hanson?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
And a yes from Commissioner Roybal. So we do have a unanimous decision in the appointments that the commissioners will sit on for the year 2021. I'm going to go ahead and go on to our next item, and this is item number 7A, and these are matters from the county attorney. Can we get a summary of what we're going into executive session for, Attorney Schaefer?
Mr. Chair, real quick, before we go into executive session, could Public Works give a little update from their report on the projects? Commissioner Garcia had asked for that. They are available to give kind of a summary of their monthly report, and I thought it might be helpful for the board. And if there are any projects that they don't mention that you have questions about, that we could, either they could answer that now, or we could get some more information for you.
Okay, I think that would be fine. Thank you, Manager Miller, because we don't want to keep them while we're in executive session. There's no use in them waiting for us. So yeah, if we could get that update, that'd be great.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, County Manager, we have attached our report for you, both for October and November, and we're working on the December report. As you'll notice in the report, we have changed the format, so we, in each of the months, are updating all of the road projects, the road maintenance projects, the utility projects, sustainability projects, and all of the vertical projects that we have. And they're done in bullet format, but if any of the commissioners now have any questions for us, I think there were 2 questions we can answer right away. We'd be glad to answer those, but also to be able to keep commissioners up to date we are now scheduling periodic meetings with the commissioners so that we can answer any of their questions, follow up, and make sure that we're giving as much information about ongoing projects that we have. Go ahead, PJ.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Garcia, specifically the questions that you had was for the $325,000 grant funding for photovoltaic. That is scheduled to be used for the Cerrillo Senior Center and Fire Station, the public safety expansion, and a small system for the Cundio Community Center. The existing grant of $505,000 has been used at the Fairgrounds Exhibit Hall. That is completed. The Agua Fria Fire Station, which is completed. The La Cienega Fire Station on Rancho Viejo Boulevard, which is completed. And the current public safety facility, which will be completed in February. Which leaves us a balance of $65,000 that is going to be used for the Tesuque, Nambe, and San Marcos transfer stations.
Do you want to give something brief on that?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I'll give you a brief rundown on the roads project. The main thing that I would like to talk about is just what's ongoing and then what's in the near future. So ongoing, currently, the only active project that we have currently is the Sunlit Hills project, where we're doing asphalt overlay. There's 4 different roads that are being overlaid with some upgrades to some of the drainage structures, as well as some guardrail on that project. The other up and coming projects is I think everyone's well aware of, is the Northeast Southeast connector that we're working through. Currently, that's in a state where we're working through right-of-way donation, easement, exhibits, and appraisal. So that's kind of where that project sits. The plans are 60% complete, and we're hoping to move that one, keep that one moving forward. General Goodwin is one too that we have. That one we've been working through easements similar to the Northeast Southeast connector, and we've made progress with NMDOT. There's a drainage license that will be coming before you, hopefully at the next BCC on the 26th. But it's just it's a license agreement, but we have some other easements that we're working with landowners on that project. So that's kind of the ones that we have going now, and in the near future. We're not doing any current other than our routine maintenance. We don't have any projects that we're doing internally with road maintenance currently. The weather has always impacts doing any kind of road work in regards to asphalt or reworking any of the subgrade or base material on roadways. So material wise, we're kind of at a standstill on that. We have a lot of other maintenance aspects going. So hopefully that gives everyone an update.
And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, going back to what Commissioner Hughes said, we had a very productive meeting with El Dorado ECIA, and brief them on everything that's going on out there, and continue to work on our relationship with them, and letting commissioners know that we are available for those kinds of meetings with the community on any of the projects or areas of interest. And with that, we'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Director Hidon. I'm going to go to Commissioner Garcia. Go ahead, sir.
Just really quick, I'd like to thank Philip Montano for actually doing a great job, as well as Gary and your entire staff there. I know you guys are short-staffed, and it's hard to get things done because, this whole COVID and the construction industry is just booming. So we're a little short-staffed there, and appreciate you guys trying to work with the commission as well as Manager Millers and getting things done. But I have a standing with you very soon, so we can talk about a little other things. But I appreciate that. Thank you, Philip, as well as Mr. Hidon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Okay, so do we have any other questions or comments on this presentation? I think it was a great presentation. Thank you guys for all the information that you gave us. Commissioner Hansen?
I want to thank you, Gary and PJ, for all the work you're doing, and I look forward to meeting with you. And thank you for the comprehensive and clean and clear report. I always appreciate reading all of these and knowing what is being done and what is going on. So thank you. I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, thank you very much for that presentation, that update. And, I think it'd be really great to get, I know that I did see that we're going to start doing quarterly updates, I believe, or something. I think it was quarterly. Is that correct, Mr. Hedon or Director Hedon?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, that is true.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. Thank you guys for your time. We appreciate it. And I don't think we have anything else as far as reports. I just want to thank staff for the reports that we did have. I think that we can probably let staff go at this point if you're in agreement with that, Manager Miller.
Yes, Mr. Chair, just to note, the reports that are in this packet were the November reports because we only had one meeting in December, and at the end of the month, you'll have December's reports.
Okay, great. Okay, so can we get a summary of what we're going into executive session for, Attorney Schaefer?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we'd be requesting a motion to adjourn the open meeting and go into closed session or executive session for purposes of discussing threatened or pending litigation in which Santa Fe County is or may become a participant as allowed by Section 10-15-1H7 NMSA 1978. Specifically, potential intervention in Public Regulation Commission case number 19-00234-UT. Again, since this is the last item of business on the agenda this evening, if it pleases the board, we could adjourn the open meeting and not reconvene in open session after executive session. And finally, I would just note before any motion is made that you do have a separate invite for the executive session. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you, Attorney Schaefer. And yeah, I would agree and be in agreement to go ahead and dismiss from executive session, but I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, this is Rudy. I'd like to make a motion for items number 7, matters from the county attorney as discussed by Attorney Schaefer. Make that as a motion.
Second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Garcia, a second from Commissioner Hamilton. Can I get a roll call vote from our Madam Clark?
Yes, Chair Roybal. Chair Roybal.
Yes.
Commissioner Anna Hansen.
Yes.
Commissioner Anna Hamilton.
Yes.
Commissioner Rudy Garcia.
Yes, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Commissioner Hank Hughes.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor.
I would like to, Mr. Chair, I want
to. Go ahead, Commissioner Hansen.
Since we're finished with that vote, I want to thank you, Ms. Catherine Clark, Madam Clerk, for an excellent meeting and good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I was just going to make the same comment. So thank you, Commissioner Hansen. I was going to thank her and make sure that we did give her a proper initiation for her first meeting. All righty. Thank you, guys. Have a great evening. And remember, we have to leave this meeting and go into the invite to the executive session. Thank you again. Bye-bye.